This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 801 for Monday, January 15th, 2024. My name is Steve.
And my name is Alex.
And we don't normally do this, Alex and I.
No, we don't.
The show,
and
here we are.
Yeah, we're not forced to watch 4Kids.
No. And this isn't any other podcast I've done.
No. Well, Steve, you voluntarily watch 4Kids now.
Yeah, I do. We'll think of a more clever title, but we'll get in the plugs later. But yeah, this is our
4Kids.
Free. You still got the alliteration there. I kind of like it.
Everybody's free in parentheses to watch 4Kids.
Yeah. And we could use that song too. We don't have to pay the license for it.
No, of course not.
So, wow, you really know it's an off week. But yeah, it is an off week. If you happen to be listening this week, first of all, thank you for tuning in. I know there's no new manga chapter, but we got loads of cool stuff on today's episode. But of course, we're joined by our very special guest, Stephen Paul. How's it going today, Stephen?
It is going well. So a little preview. You will hear there's an SGS on this episode. And we're also going to be doing volume 107. But in my conversation with Greg, I talked about my sleep schedule, and we talked a little about Oda's sleep schedule. And that was like 2 weeks prior, a week or two prior to when we were talking. But just today, I went to bed last night at about 2 a.m. and I woke up at 5 because my wife had a half marathon to run, and now it is about over 12 hours since then. So I am loopy as hell. We'll see what happens on this recording.
So Steven's either gonna be really funny, or he's gonna tell Alex and I to like wrap this shit up.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna.
I gotta sleep.
Gonna pass out in the middle of it. Yeah.
But also,
can I do this one?
No, because I also want to introduce our other guests on this episode.
No, I want to do this one. I want to do it.
Shut up, Alex. Shut up. Enough. You could do it afterwards.
And this week we have Sam.
You know, he's only the host of our anime recap and all-around special boy, Sam Leach. How's it going today, Sam?
Sudoku.
What's a Sudoku?
Is that like Hesso?
You mean Count Dooku.
Yeah.
It's Count Dooku.
Okay.
But you see what I was doing there? I was doing the anime recap thing that Sam does.
Oh, I see.
And this week we have Sam.
Well, you're not on it enough. He usually kind of says, sometimes he builds you up. You come from a really important place.
Well, everyone's got their thing on the anime recap.
Yeah.
That's true.
Jill is beloved friend. Steve gets an arbitrary job.
Am I the only? I'm the only representative on there. I'm the corporate sponsor.
Yeah, you're the only guy. You're the only Sweden representative.
Out of everyone on this podcast,
and then Ed gets like I'm thinking 2 steps behind where I am. Just
see, I was doing the Ed one.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Ed one.
And today we have Ed.
No,
I like that his name is
we don't have Ed. He's not here.
Ed has the least amount of syllables in his name of all time. So that's why it's so funny to me, I think. We have Ed.
But also, Sam is on as well, and we're definitely going to cover episode 1090.
Wow.
And it's a new island, future island, Egghead. Egghead? Island is said 3 times in that title. It's kind of funny. But
Egghead Jima.
What is that even? What are you doing?
I'm having fun.
What's this bit? But how do we like to do things on these, Stephen? Do we do the SGS first, or do we do our volume recap first?
Yeah, let's slip the SGS in first, and then when we transition to the volume segment, it's like a surprise, like, oh, I forgot all these jokers were here on this episode. And,
okay.
It'll be fun.
So why don't we slip into something more comfortable? The SGS, that is.
Let's do it. It's time for the SGS. Hey, new year, new look. Maybe. I'm Steven, and I'm joined
by Simba. Hey, all right.
He is
good to see you, everybody. Meow, meow, meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, nyan.
He's picking up right from where we left off before recording.
Greg. It's Greg. Greg, good
Yeah.
to see you. Good to be here. Good to be alive. That's always
Happy New
fun.
Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, how's your... Yeah, I know you were reassuring people that you were fine, but it should be said, Fukui is pretty close to Ishikawa Prefecture. Isn't that correct?
It's directly next to it. We often go there for Costco on
Boy.
weekends. So yeah. And we were just vacationing in that peninsula. We went there for the summer and a couple summers ago as well. Lovely place. It's a shame what happened up there with the quake.
Yeah.
Our car was parked in Ishikawa at the airport there. So we left Ishikawa, and then there was an earthquake. And then we left Haneda Airport, and 40 minutes later there was the explosion. So my wife says that this is all quote unquote. Obviously, it is both horrible events, but it is a quote unquote good thing for us because she got Daikichi at her yearly fortune tellings. So that's why we're okay.
Wow.
Thanks to that. If you don't know, there's a New Year's tradition over in Japan. You go to a shrine and you get a lottery. For it tells you your fortune for the year, and she got like ultra super lucky. So,
Wow.
Yeah, that was my New Year's adventure. I hope you had a somewhat more down to earth New Year's.
Yeah. I mean, there was no natural disasters happening, which was, I guess that's an improvement for sure. Although I have been on, just speaking of One Piece stuff, and I don't know if this is actually really true anymore, because when he was talking about this, it was years and years ago, but I definitely got a taste of the quote unquote Oda time, the Oda schedule for a while, where I think there was 1 week, maybe 2 weeks ago or so, where over the 5 weekdays I probably totaled like less than 20 hours of sleep, over those 5 days. It was not fun. It was not something that I would want to do regularly.
I asked him about that. I once was like, you wrote the schedule in the SBS, and I was like, is that true? He was like, yeah, it's absolutely true. It's like, are you okay?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. He's like, actually, it's no big deal to me. He says, if I do end up sleeping more than that, I actually get headaches. So this is actually my preferred schedule. I was like, all right, okay, that gives me.
And that was fairly recently that you asked him, or?
Oh yeah, that was boy. I mean, we're not talking like more than 5 years ago. This was 3 years ago, about 3 years ago. Yeah. But I'm sorry to hear that. I hope it was all productive and good for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was in service of finishing deadlines and stuff. But I've had it's been a tough year or two as far as like keeping to my schedule and keeping up with it, and it's definitely like you feel your age a little bit. That's why I'm a little surprised to hear that Oda's still sticking to that. that general amount of sleep, because yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
I'm not cut out for it. But I do sleep less than probably the average person does.
All right. Well, I'm sorry to hear that was rough on you, but I do hope readers of all varieties can look forward to what's coming down the pike.
Yeah. And speaking of readers of all varieties, I think we have all been quite captivated by the latest material in One Piece. Actually, before we talk about the manga, I did want to ask. It's been a lot of news since the last time we recorded, and I don't know where to start. There's been a lot of anime specific stuff, but we were just talking about this last week. In particular, these new I guess it's the 25th anniversary of the anime. Yeah, that's right, because it was 99 to 2024. These new theme songs that they've put out with none other than Hiroshi Kitadani and Maki Otsuki.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you said you had heard the opening song.
I've heard the opening. I've heard and seen the opening. Yeah.
Right. But not the ending.
I honestly, here's my coming out though. Is I've probably not seen a full episode of the anime through in like maybe 4 or 5 years now. But I did check out the opening specifically, and I know I shared some thoughts privately with you previous to this, but I was blown away. It felt super One Piece-y to me. Like easily the most One Piece feeling theme song since what was it? I can't what conjugation of R was it? We do, we can,
we go, I think
we
that
go.
was, yeah.
We go. Yeah. Which seems like, well, duh, of course it does. It's Kitadani, of course it is. But even more, he did a recent one, I think at the start of Wano, right?
Probably. I'm not as up on this stuff either, but I have been watching it more recently.
I am no expert here, so I don't think either of us are super anime experts. So we're going to sound like fools talking about it. But regardless, I know that he's done several theme songs.
Yes, and
this definitely feels more in tune with We Go, and We Go obviously felt very in tune with We Are. It feels like this song could have been written at the start of the series. There is a timeless quality to it, and while I'm not going to, I think I said I'm not going to put it on repeat on Spotify, but like it makes me feel like I'm in the mood for a fun, exciting, something that'll make me laugh episode of One Piece, and the visuals that go along with it are just chef's kiss because they're having fun. It's creative. It's utilizing the crew in unique ways, and it features the crew. My God, that's so important. There have been so many openings that have looked at like what's going on in the series right now, or really featuring the tertiary characters. Whereas this, I mean, look at how much it features Luffy, which is great. It's so good to see that. And I was blown away. I was smiling ear to ear by the end of it.
Yeah, it's really great, and I do think that it's not just that it's Kitadani singing it, but it is clearly written in like it's a similar key, has similar kind of chord progression that is definitely hitting the same type of sound that the original does. And actually, if you do get a chance to see the ending video, I had a very similar thought about that one too, where it sounded like they specifically said, "Hey, let's write a song that evokes how it felt hearing memories back in the day, and has has a similar, it's not the same song, but it does do some of the same things, and so yeah, it definitely is kind of a bit of a trip through memory lane, kind of feeling.
I gotta give that a listen.
Yeah.
Also, Otsuki Maki she's from Fukui, which is where I live. So we actually exchanged Twitter follows, I guess, a couple of years ago.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, and because we've crossed paths at a couple of events now. And it was one of those things where I was just like, I don't know if you remember me, but I saw you on TV the other night, and it was really cool. And thank you. And I'm looking forward to something, in the future where we can see memories again. And she was just like, Greg, of course I remember you. And she's like, oh, Zuki. So yeah, I do need to give that a listen and tell her my thoughts on that, because memories is just something I put on repeat. Like that's a great song.
You do have to keep in mind, Greg, that you have a more striking profile in Japan than the average person. So the folks will remember you.
Are you saying I have a big nose?
Let's see, what else is there? Yeah, what were your thoughts about the big announcement from Jump Festa about this new series, apparently?
Okay. So a little bit of a behind the scenes story is I was completely surprised at the announcement. However, the announcement did not surprise me. I'll explain. For I guess, I don't know how many, maybe 2-3 years now, I've been doing the English translation for Oda's yearly message. And it's always a process that goes right down. I mean, they were changing it, right down to a couple hours before the reveal. Like,
wow.
Like the night before the second day of Jump Festa at like midnight, I was getting texts that were like, we need to change this and this and this. Oh, okay. All right. But there was no mention of the project, the redoing of the series specifically in there. So I didn't expect any announcement of that. However, boy, how many years? This was actually probably around the same time that I had that same conversation about the sleep with Oda. But we were sitting at a table, and his editors sat down across. I was next to him. His editors sat across from him, and at a restaurant, and they said, "By the way, we have something to ask you." And they were like, "We're thinking of redoing the anime, but we want to know how do you feel? Like, what would you be interested in that?" And he was just like, "Oh yeah, sounds cool." And like, it's a super weighted question, is it not?
Yeah.
I mean, to do that while the series is going on, is I honestly, I don't know if it's ever been done. I mean, I think the closest thing you do is something with Doraemon, maybe doing a spin-off series or the movie series. But I mean, I don't think there's anything equivalent to a shonen series doing this. I mean, Hunter x Hunter is very similar to that, of course, but Hunter x Hunter is a unique situation in its own way.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Hunter x Hunter and Full Metal Alchemist are the ones that come to mind of, like, they did it once and then they decided, let's go back and do it again with a little more, effort and time this time.
Interesting. I'm not familiar with Full Metal. I never got into it. Did that happen while the series was ongoing? The manga?
Yeah, okay. So this is, if my memory serves correctly. Zach was just talking about this too when we discussed this. They did an original series for Full Metal Alchemist in the middle of the manga, and it was, I forget how long. I think it was so it might have been 50 something episodes or something like that. And the manga was nowhere near being finished, so they came up with their own original ending for it. And then again, while the manga was still ongoing, a couple years later, they put together Brotherhood. And apparently, I did not check and look this up, but from what Zach said at the time, he said they actually managed to time it so that the final chapter, that was a monthly manga, the final monthly chapter came out at the very end of the anime, and they had apparently planned it out where like they were on the same page as far as what the content was. So that's a pretty extreme situation too. You can imagine like the amount of planning that goes into that.
No way. That author, my goodness.
Yeah.
All right. Well, aside from Full Metal Alchemist, and I don't really count Hunter x Hunter because that's kind of a unique situation with the progression, but I don't really know that this is something that's been done before, and I don't even know like it. I don't think it's like, I think One Piece has some good life left in it. I really do, but I don't know if they'll get through it by the end. You know what I mean? I'm not sure how that's going to go, and honestly, I don't think they know how it's going to go either. I think they're just having fun with it. I think they're having a good time, and they're going to see how things fit together over the years, especially, whether there's success with it or not. Hopefully they do find success. But very, very interesting development, and I was surprised at the timing of it.
Yeah, it is.
I apologize for the cough. I had a little bit of a cough over the break. So.
Oh, okay. I hope that gets better. I mean, it's the season for all kinds of germs and nasty things. Yeah, it does. I think one of the really fascinating parts about it is it's not like the Toei production is any slot. I mean, they continue to just one up themselves as far as the production values and the effort that they're putting into the series. So, it's not like, oh, thank God we're being saved from this shoddy second rate, adaptation. There's it's just kind of firing on all cylinders right now. Was there anything else? I mean, I guess it's probably, I kind of opined on this. I don't know if you have any thoughts on the matter too, but it does feel like when they announced kind of first and foremost, like, yeah, this is happening with Netflix, that it really does feel like they both sides of this kind of arrangement that has been building and developing since the live action show first started. It feels like they are really leaning heavily into each other with this partnership that's going on right now between, Shueisha and Oda and Netflix. What are your thoughts on that?
I have more than thoughts on it, and I really should not share those.
Fair.
Just because they're a little bit more confidential. But it's not nasty or anything. It's just
no.
Trying to be professional about it,
right,
and all. But I mean, looking at what did they just announced that aren't they doing a speed up or something with the anime, the Toei animation on Netflix? They're going to Egghead or something.
Yes. I'm not sure if that's a North American thing only or if that's international, but
it's North American only. Yeah, because Japan over here, it's like it's pretty normal. Like I think weekly we get the episodes on Thursdays on Netflix.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're catching up, and the dubbing process is very, very close to being all the way caught up. So that's probably another factor that contributed to that. But yes, I believe they will be simulcasting it or something close to that within this month. So it's an evolving situation.
They got a taste of that One Piece money.
I mean, I would hope so. Yeah,
good for Oda. It's been long enough.
I mean, I saw there was an article that I presume it must have been based on, actual data that had been released from Netflix. This is talking about the live action of, kind of looking back on 2023. And they kind of broke things down by different categories of content, and both hours watched, cumulative hours watched, and then like the viewer review or their score, basically how happy they were with it. And I think of all the series that premiered in 2023, I think in terms of hours watched, One Piece was third, fairly close with the first two, but it was number one in fan sentiment. So that's got to be good.
Wow, that is great. Well, look forward to season 2.
Yep. Yeah. I will not bother you with any pointless questions about that at this point. We will wait and see. I think that's probably enough talking about news. I'm sure there's other things that we could talk about, but we don't want to dawdle too long since we are kind of on a time limit here. So I guess moving on to the manga. It's been it's been a few months now, actually, since we talked, and so I don't remember exactly. I remember we talked about the Bonnie age issue, so that was definitely no earlier than that chapter where it was confirmed. But it's been a few since then, and I don't know if it's worth going through the blow by blow, but just in general terms. Last couple chapters, and rounding out the Kuma flashback. What are your thoughts? What's your takeaway been?
I have something of a unique take on this, and maybe it's me being older as a person. I'm not really sure. Maybe it's just me having a lot of experience with the series. There is nothing I dislike about this flashback. In fact, I feel that it is incredibly tight. It is very well written. The pacing at the beginning is still something I take issue with. But obviously, looking at the whole picture, we know why that was a thing and why that was constructed that way. And yet, I think maybe this is one of the stories that has moved me the least in the series. I'm not entirely sure why. But I'm not using whether I cry or not as a litmus test for whether I enjoyed something. I think I have maybe an inkling of why it is. Maybe. And I think it's because for so many years, I expected Kuma to be the kind of person that he's just been shown to be. So it's kind of like, finally, it's out there, good. The reactions from Bonnie to me have been sort of the biggest kind of tugging at my heartstrings, especially at the end there. And the age reveal, and not only the age reveal, but how well the age reveal was done. I think to me were some of the most impressive points of the flashback. But I wasn't a puddle of goo by the end. And it just felt natural. It felt good, and I guess the character growth that we saw in maybe not Kuma, because Kuma remains unchanged, but we saw in Bonnie as she grew up, felt all justified. So I did enjoy all of that, but I didn't come away in a pile of goo. I don't know about yourself.
I think what did I say? I did get a little choked up at the running page, the one where he's his life is flashing before his eyes, basically. I thought that was a really fascinating page, and the way that we discussed it last week when we were recapping was that like it kind of felt like it felt like Oda was able to kind of indulge in an emotional and slightly experimental format that he rarely does these days. And I really appreciated seeing that. It was, it was not his usual style, I would say. And that was really cool. I don't know. I think it probably hit me more because I did not, you said you had always kind of suspected that this was basically who Kuma was as a person. And I will admit that, like, I found Kuma to be either boring or just kind of unreadable for the majority of the series before all of this stuff kind of came. I was just sort of like, well, he's doing something, but I don't really know why, and I can't tell if this is just author convenience or what. I didn't really see the narrative behind all of that. And so I think seeing all of these events that turned him into the person that he was, and then his side of all the stuff that we saw, like on Thriller Bark and on Shabondi, those all like kind of slid right into place, and it was like, this all makes so much sense now. So I think that probably has a big part to play with why it probably hit harder for me, was just not being prepared for that.
I see. Interesting. Very interesting. Especially that take on the fact that you don't know how to read him. Mm-hmm. That's very cool, because I think that maybe that is the difference, because I set my foot in the ground on that one. That was one where I was like, oh yeah. I mean, I had my inklings originally because he was carrying around the Bible in my favorite chapters, 230, 234, I think 235.
Right.
When he first shows up, and you can take that as a number of different ways. You can take it as like, oh, he's holding a Bible. Of course, he's going to be like he's trying to proselytize, everyone, or he's going to be one of those kind of characters that takes things too far. And I thought, well, hold on, let's just. I don't know what Oda's going to do, how tropey he's going to be with this. Let's just see where that goes. It could go one way or the other. And when we got to the Thriller Bark scene, I thought, hold on. You can interpret what he's doing here in a number of ways. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's actually threatening, because if he wanted to, he could have ended them. Mm-hmm. Let's see where this goes. Then he got the Shabondi, and the second he leaned down to whisper something into Rayleigh's ear, mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, he did not reveal what that was, did he? I don't think he did.
No.
This would have been the perfect opportunity for it, but I was like, okay, he is informing Rayleigh that he is not going to end them, or just like there's a purpose for this. Mm-hmm. Please don't kill me.
Yeah. So
I read it with that assumption, and ever since that way, it's he's read that way. He's been that kind of character to me. And to see that, carry through is a wonderful thing, but it's also not surprising. The most mm-hmm. surprising thing for me, hands down, has been that, they're not blood related. That was like, oh my God. And then the age was another like, oh my God. Because I was so far in the other direction, that she was, this ancient being.
Yeah.
And yeah. Well played, Oda. Well played.
Yeah. Yeah, I had always kind of it was one of those things I didn't really think about that often, but a lot of those details, particularly the Thriller Bark thing, where I sort of bought, his original his stated intentions were, and it was one of those things where I was like, is this just like unsatisfying writing? Like, why would he be satisfied with like Zoro taking the hit rather than Luffy? When you see it now, it's like, oh well, actually, he has a fascination with Luffy, and like he has a reason to kind of test. He's testing the waters here to see if Luffy's crew is worthy of him. Is he gonna?
Yes.
Are they gonna take him where I think he might be going, sort of thing?
Yes.
And yeah, seeing all of that perspective was like, oh, this makes much more. I feel much better about this event now, understanding his motivations better. Because sometimes you just have things where either because of the way Oda wrote it or did the dialogue or something, where it's just like, is this just a Japanese thing where like it's just stated in it? I think of like Shanks coming to end the war and everybody agreeing like, okay, yeah, let's help you save face or whatever, which is it kind of a strange way to phrase it. I get what the point was, but sometimes you come across things like that where it just feels like this is coming from a writer, a creative mind who lives in a very different culture from my own, and maybe I'm just not like fully grasping all the intricacies of what these characters' actions mean, and that's kind of how I interpreted some of Kuma's actions. But yeah, they seem much more in line with what I see of him now, of this very very noble, laudable character.
What do you think are his chances of getting out of this with the quote unquote original, very quote unquote original body?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're probably pretty low. I think it's one of those things where, like, and I was thinking about this of like, Oda did the rare thing here where he created the flashback character, i.e. the person who just seems like how can you fault them for anything? Like they're just perfectly lovable human beings who are always supportive and doing such great things while he's still alive, because usually he can lean on all those positive qualities because they're tragic figures who have already perished, and the people in the present day are using their example as inspiration to keep going, and all these parental figures and Corazon and people like that. But Kuma is still alive in some manner of speaking, and I do feel like that's probably not a good sign for him getting off of this. Yeah. But I don't know. We were talking about the Vegapunk had said something like, oh well, I have this thing that I can split off or switch the personality or something like that, like multiple personalities, so that I might preserve part of his personality or something like that. And it didn't sound like he did it because he was mentioning that to Saturn, and then Saturn shot him down. He could certainly have done so, which might, or have done some kind of tinkering which might explain Kuma coming back. I was thinking about this and I was like, it almost feels more One Piece. I don't want to get my hopes up too much in case this turns out not to be the case, but it does feel like the sort of thing where maybe Vegapunk would have tried something, or maybe he created some little backdoor in Kuma's personality. But I would love to have it turn out that like he did that, but it should not have worked this well, or like that the Kuma should not have reacted this quickly, or some way in which you still get to preserve the kind of superhuman, the almost magical heroic stand of like Kuma is overcoming the the machine,
even the science of it. Yes,
right. That seems like it would be something very very manga-esque, very One Piece-esque.
I agree.
Yeah.
That would be the shonen aspect of it, is the fact
Yeah.
that he did intend to remove it as ordered and with the permission of Kuma proper, but his willpower is so strong that it's overcoming that. And that ever since he ran away from her, or took himself away from Kamabaka Island, that was when I was just like, yes, there's definitely, it's either the back door or the trigger. At that time, I even thought like maybe Vegapunk, hit a switch at the laboratory, and maybe maybe that is what happened, because the timing of that would be around such. But the point being that whatever it is needs to have like you said, a superhuman quality to it that shows that he's overcoming the situation as it should have been. That said, I'm similar to you. I do not have high hopes or high expectations for the fate of this quote unquote original body. Luckily, we have the memories, so the do-over is given. There will be a happy ending there. It's just a matter of when. And I don't know if Oda can because how he likes to hold the reader in suspense. I don't know if he can justify giving us that happy ending before the end of the series. So this might be something that he holds off on for quite some time.
Yeah, I don't know if they do have the memories though, because that was the end of when Bonnie is when she's crying because she's seen all of that. She touched the paw, right, and that causes it to vanish. That's what he said.
Did I miss that? I may have missed that.
Yeah. I'm looking here at the scene. So, he says the memories are something like a copy, but if you touch it, it will disappear. And then Vegapunk's
disappear.
His facility will hold it without touching it. But then that's what Bonnie did to see, to see everything that we saw, presumably.
Well, guess what? Now she has the memories.
Yes.
And if they're able to extract memories.
Okay, yeah. If there's another sort of magical scientific power that Vegapunk can use to
let alone
that from her.
If there's a person to utilize fruit powers without the fruit, he's definitely the dude to do it.
That is true. Yeah.
Plus, she's I didn't fully understand this, and I didn't read through it a bunch either because I didn't fully care to get through it because it was like, Oda's maybe setting something up, and I'm not going to think too hard about it. What was Bonnie subjected to? She was made to drink an elixir that they tried to transfer fruit powers without the fruit.
Yeah. Let's see. What did he say? Yeah, he gave her to do. Which page?
I'm sorry to put you on the spot here.
Yeah, no, I let's see. He said he directly gave the extract to her as a baby,
right?
As an experiment. So presumably that would mean an injection, I guess. But yeah, that does open up a lot of questions of like, oh, so they can presumably do that at any time now to other folks. Between that and the the green blood and all this other stuff, we are really softening the boundaries of how devil fruit powers work here.
Oh my God! You know what would be crazy? Absolutely off the charts is if Vegapunk secretly put Kuma's naturally memories. He copy pasted and put them into every pacifista or the police, and he just turned it on.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh my God. But anyway, all right, interesting. I did not catch that they had vanished, so that's very interesting. But in the same vein, now that those memories have been passed on, I imagine that they can just pop them out and place them back in if they wanted to.
Possibly, yeah. I had another question. This is more of a little bit of a procedural question here, but we've been talking and we still don't have a full answer on what the deal is with Saturn and his seeming ability to rob. It's almost like he has a sea prism, sea stone projection field around him or something that is interfering with people's ability to get to him. And I would have assumed that they had this little interaction, he and Bonnie, where she's saying oh my powers, I'm not able to use them, I'm weak, it's not working. And my first assumption is oh well, it's the same thing that we've kind of sort of seen him doing with the other people that we see a page or two before, like Sanji is saying, I can't move, what's going on here, and everybody's kind of stuck there. And
also the Weapon X kind of shit too, right? The Wolverine healing factor or whatever it is. For Saturn,
yeah. And so I would have assumed that was also kind of why her powers are not working. But then he kind of gives her this little speech about you have your age powers allow you to transform into all these different futures, but your despair is causing you to realize that your futures are limited, and you're not believing in Nika anymore, and that's why you can't turn into him and all of this stuff. Do you take that? Did you take that at face value, or did it feel like it was Saturn / Oda himself kind of coming up with a likely story, kind of a mind game that he's playing with Bonnie to not actually reveal what Saturn's powers are yet?
That there's stuff I don't read over and there's stuff I miss, but that line in particular piqued my interest. And I did read that specific line over several times and gave it some thought. I was just like, what is he talking about here? And is it because she was an experiment? Is it a failed experiment? Is it something about the fruit? And what I came away with was that it's a particular aspect of the fruit in which again works, if I do understand it correctly, works so well with her being a child, because I think he says something along the lines of like, the more you understand about reality, like the more limited your futures become, your possible futures become. So if I understand that, it's the fruit's power is based on your knowledge of the world, basically, and what's around you. And to that point, because she's a child, she doesn't have that knowledge. She doesn't have a school education. So what she knows about the world is limited to basically nothing. She thinks anything is possible. So I'm not sure if that was something that he did or was part of the whatever she was injected with, or if that's a limitation of the Toshi Toshi fruit proper. If I understand it correctly, I think he's talking about the Toshi Toshi fruit.
Yes,
but as far as that's related to him, I don't think that's any of his, what's going on with his kind of strange or unique quote unquote powers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that did stick out to me specifically. I was like, oh, is this Oda limiting the fruit abilities because she would be too OP?
Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that, kind of similar to what you've been saying about, sometimes you just kind of don't bother to think through all the ramifications of a power or whatnot, because it's like, oh, well, he'll explain it later, or, we'll find out eventually, and I don't know enough at this point. And I'm sure there's lots of things like that where he's like, oh, well, actually, if it's like this, then people are going to say, well, why didn't she do that? Why didn't she do this?
Yeah,
she didn't do that.
Yeah.
You get lost in all those different possibilities.
Honestly, the moment it kind of broke for me was when she did Nika Mitai na Mirai. That was where I was just like, holy crap! We're not talking like strong, and we're not talking like weak, because those seem like very basic concepts for a person. But you're changing their future so they can be a godlike being.
Right. The possibilities are endless. Yeah.
Yeah. But I do think something is interesting. He actually, can I bug you about this now? I didn't want to spend too much time on this, but it's similar. There was also a line where I'm pretty sure it's Saturn, and he's kind of reflecting on himself, and he's like, oh, the two of them are not connected yet. Or it's like there's just a...
Yes. Yeah. He says, within you, Nika and Straw Hat's white form are not don't seem to be connected.
Yeah. What,
yet.
Inferring that they can be connected?
Yeah.
What the F is that about? That seems really like, is that going to be an inspiration thing? Like, because of hockey, does everybody have the potential to be Nika? Like, would that be Luffy's inspiration to the world? And I know that's going really out there, but like, why would he bother saying that? That's a very odd thing to say. Unless I'm missing something that's very obvious, but
I mean, it could be kind of just on the face of it. It could just be that, we have come to expect that, the name Nika gets brought up a lot with regards to Luffy, but that's still kind of like only a few people know about that in the series that we have seen so far. And so he might be like, it might be like a PR thing, sort of, where he's just like, oh, I don't want the name Nika to come back into fashion and have that associated with Straw Hat, because then there will be more consequences around the world, and more people who might be aligned against us and stuff like that. So that might be what his thought process is.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what's what happens if more people do know it. Then what happens?
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, very interesting. I would love to chat more on it, but I do believe we have a duty to do as the SGS.
Yes, we do. We do
answer
have
some questions.
A couple questions. Yeah. And we will pick up more about Kuma and Saturn and Bonnie and all that stuff next time we talk, I'm sure. Let's go to our SGS segment on the Discord, where our patrons, if you are subscribed to our Patreon and you have access to the Discord, you can ask us questions in our own SGS channel there. Let's see. I believe the last one, we will start with King Doji. It says, hello, Simba, Greg, and Steven.
Hey.
Couple of questions here. How does this flashback rank among your favorites? What are some of your favorites? And then he says, how much longer do you think we have in this flashback and in this arc? Well, this was before the end of the flashback when he asked this, so we can probably ignore that one. But yeah, how are you feeling? You did talk about your general kind of emotional takeaway from it.
Higher than Vivi's.
All right. Yeah.
But I don't want to sound too negative, because it is very well done. I enjoyed it. But it didn't really move me that much. It was satisfying to see what I had hoped for play out. But it also gets points for the V. I don't know that it beats anybody in the cruise. I'm just trying to think.
That's tough. Yeah.
I mean, okay, if we're being completely honest, like Zoro's flashback is not super impressive to me. It is an important part of the story, and it builds what we see in Zoro. And it was just like holy crap kind of moment. But I mean, I didn't exactly come out of it in tears, or so maybe above that, which I feel sad to say, because it's Zoro and I love Zoro, but maybe, yeah, I don't know, and the lower end, but that's also like that's the lower end of a One Piece flashback.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
loving a main character story in any other manga for me. So
yeah. I don't know. I agree that it's kind of hard to rank it above. Certainly, I don't think I would put it above the full length, like the real satisfying Straw Hat backstories, because like you said, some of them that we've seen are very brief just because they were so early in the story. But I did say I thought that post time skip, this one was probably close to, maybe not quite on the level of Law's flashback, but and I think they were surprised that I didn't say Oden's, that Oden was better than that. I think my problem with Oden's flashback is not that it's not good, it's just very long. It's doing a lot of different things at the same time, and comparatively
super busy.
This one is much more focused, even though it does have a lot of tie-ins and references to old events. Like it's not so much like giving us a ton of new material to fit into the timeline, but it's just kind of tying together a bunch of, seemingly random events that actually have a pretty strong narrative line through them. And I think that's very impressive. And, I think in terms of providing a context for a character who's been around for a very long time and has been relatively unexplained, that's pretty impressive. So I think for me, it would probably be middle of the pack, which again is high praise for, in comparison to any other series.
It's interesting you went to Oden as well. Who I brought up and I tried to wrestle with is Rebecca and Kyros. I tried to go with that one and see if it could beat that out, and no, it can't, because
interesting.
That one got me, but
yeah, actually, it's a good comparison point, because they are very similar stories in certain ways of the father trying to protect the daughter.
Yes. Maybe probably better than Yamato, I think. In my mind.
Yeah, that's a pretty short.
Yeah,
short flashback.
Good question. Thank you.
Yeah. Next, this is a fun one. Gerber's Eye Patch says, "Hey, Sanrio guest stars, is Moria's Seraphim going to be named S-Bat, S-Gecko, or a secret third thing?" That's a good question. And I don't think we haven't seen him yet, have we?
Is there a reason for bat? I'm just trying to think.
Oh, maybe you heard this a long time ago and you forgot. So, of course, the Shichibukai, the Seven Warlords, all have animal theme. That's why why their seraphim are named S and then the animal. And the pattern is always fairly obvious. With Gecko Moria is a bit of a curveball, because I think, like most people, at least in English, my assumption was that it was gecko, as in the lizard,
right?
The gecko, and I don't know if this has actually been confirmed or not, or if this is just like people noticed the thing that was going on here. But if you say his full name, Gecko Moria,
Yamori.
No, Gecko Moria. Komori is bat. So if you
Gecko Moria, okay,
yeah, and I think there's probably some. I'm sure there's some amount of fan art and other creations where people have drawn on that and kind of use that as his thing, because that's obviously also that's a very significant. You think about Thriller Bark and the bats flying around and stuff like that. It definitely does kind of tie into his character. But I don't know if we've ever gotten confirmation. If we have, I'm forgetting it right now.
If that's on a Viver card, then I have no idea. I have not even opened my Viver cards. In which case I concede. Otherwise, I do believe it's Gecko, because even his final attack is he looks very lizardish, and I think one of his shadow things is like a literal lizard that like shoots up out of the ground as well, if I'm remembering that correctly. It's a shadow that's like lizard shaped. And I think this I mentioned to you this to you years ago on the podcast, but it was Mori. It's but if you pronounce it ya, and it's Yamori, which is also a type of lizard as well.
Is that the traditional Japanese term for gecko or something like that?
I believe so.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Let me just.
But I mean, the other thing about gecko is, and this is just is it could also be like moonlight, right? Gecko.
Yes.
So I don't know if a lot of fans overseas are familiar with that, but gecko literally meaning moonlight. So a play on moonlight to be like gecko. But in Komori, I don't know. I've never heard that in Japan. But
yeah, I mean, he's not a character who comes up very often nowadays. So it's it's been a while since he was kind of relevant to the story.
We know what he'd look like as a kid because he drew him as a kid, and we've also seen him younger. So he'd probably look in between, like probably somewhere in between how Oda drew him in Chapter 0 and as a child, right? So he probably still has a chin, and the long neck. I assume. I'm just assuming that he's a long neck tribe person.
Yeah. I dare say we could find out the answer to this, in the near future, depending on what scenes Oda wants to draw.
Yeah,
because we have not seen him yet. Interesting. Let's see. Next, here's more kind of old facts here. Pongzilla says, "Hello, Stephen and Greg. Question about Jinbei and Frankie's birthdays. I understand why Oda gave all the other Straw Hats certain days for their birthdays, Usopp being April Fool's Day, Robin, Sanji, and Nami being based on their names, etc. But why is Frankie's birthday March 9th, 3-9, and Jinbei's 4-2, April 2nd? Stay awesome."
Jinbei's offhand, I do not know. I'd have to look that up.
Yeah.
I do know Frankie's. Do you know Frankie's?
It's not coming to mind right now.
It's super lame. It's I mean, and by that I mean it's great. What is God damn it? What is Frankie?
He's a cyborg.
Say that again.
Cyborg. Wait. Cyborg. Sa for song, and then is it the goo being
yes?
Ku? Jeez.
All right. So for listeners, Sa-i-bo-gu is the first and the last character. Sa and gu, and sounds like san and ku in Japanese, meaning 3 and 9. So Sa-i-bo-gu, 3-9.
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
As for Jinbei's, I'm sorry, I don't remember that one offhand. What the reasoning is, I'd have to look that up.
Yeah,
if I can give you a bonus one to make up for it, Orz's birthday is, I believe it's October 4th, and the reason Orz's birthday is October 4th is because he froze to death, or in 10-4, Tol Shi.
Okay. Yeah.
That's
I love explaining these number things to people because there's like 3 different steps you have to do to explain why this means this number, and so on. Yeah. To being the counter for 10, or the counting number for 10.
Yes.
Jinbei, so I did a quick search, and I believe Jinbei's was revealed in Data Book Blue, maybe Blue Deep. I'm not sure.
It'd have to be
so I don't believe that came with an explanation. So there might be something. It might be world Whale Shark Day or something like that. For all we know,
neither have like Frankie's and stuff. Yeah, they most of the ones that have quote unquote explanations come from the SBS.
Because people,
right. ask for them and they explain it, and Oda's like, all right. But like the past couple of years, when Oda started taking requests through
the website,
the website, yes, like they just stopped with explanations, and you got to figure them out yourself. And like some of them are completely over my head.
Yeah.
But the Oars one I totally got. The Frankie one I totally got. But some of them are just like, you've got to be kidding me level of like gags.
Yeah.
I think I'd be more into them if they were all Oda created. But they are all Oda approved, so there's that going for them.
That's true. Yeah, it's a lot. Once he committed to like allowing for the characters to have different birthdays, then then it's just a whole level of potential trivia that just kind of extends indefinitely. Where I definitely cannot keep stay on top of all these things.
Oh, here's an interesting one. I don't think I ever touched on this in the podcast. Yamato's birthday. There is some fake information that's going around about this, and people are like, "Oh, it's Godzilla's birthday. That's why." And it's just like, what the why? It's nothing to do with that, and everything to do with that is the day that the Yamato ship in Japan, the warship,
the battleship,
the famous battleship in Japan, was completed. It was completed on Yamato's birthday, and the reason that's not popping up on all the let's use a polite term, backbenchers theory tables is because there is a quote unquote error. There is a quote unquote error in the wiki for the Yamato battleship, and that is that they list the completion date one day, I think, earlier than it actually was in Japan, because the wiki listing, or at least it was when I looked into this like 2 or 3 years ago, was listed in American time. So so it's actually listed the day before it was completed. So when you go on the wiki looking for it, like there's no like this happened on this day in this year. It doesn't pop up on Yamato's birthday. But if you go to Japan counts it as being done one day earlier, one day later. So that's where that comes from, and there's absolutely no question about that. The ship is inherently locked in the mind of the Japanese ubiquity, the Japanese mind hive, so to speak.
Yeah.
Thanks to series like Battleship Yamato and the pride in the country and whatnot. But that's where that comes from. That was an aside, but wanted to put that out there for listeners.
Interesting. All right, we have one more here on Discord from Big Mike. He says, do you think before the end of the series we will get more Straw Hat crew members and Grand Fleet captains? Vivi can return to the crew for the remainder of the series. Yamato is in limbo, and I can see one of the Vegapunks joining the crew if his dreams align with him going to Laugh-Tale and the Straw Hats needing a scientist on their crew. And for the Grand Fleet, I can see Hancock and the Kuja Pirates, Aladdin and the Sun Pirates, Carrot and the Mink Tribe, and Momonosuke and the Samurai joining.
So there's a point where I believed that the worst generation would become, or the supernovas as we call them at the time, right?
Right.
That they would become sort of the grand, what we've come to know as the Grand Fleet.
Yes.
Sort of like Whitebeard's backup crews, right? His I always call them the umbrella crews, but
his affiliates, I guess.
That is not likely to be the case. I do believe that they will all cooperate with Luffy, but their personalities are such that I don't think they could ever call themselves subservient unless Oda clearly really wants to show that Luffy is the king and they all bow to him. If that occurs, then it's kind of sad, because that would mean some of their spirits are quote unquote broken. And I don't know if he can do that. But other than that, I do not see them being part of the Grand Fleet, but I do see them backing him up for sure.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the Grand Fleet, those are some good ideas, like Samurai and Aladdin's crew as well. Those are great ideas. I do like that. And as far as people joining the crew, absolutely. But at the very, very end, I think Oda is really committed to the crew that he planned at the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, very, very much so. Frustratingly, he drew Yamato together with the crew, and I mean, you can argue that Momonosuke is there as well for the Tatsudoshi this year, for the Year of the Dragon.
Right.
But like, before I noticed Momonosuke, I was just like, "Whoa, is he being really direct here?" Yeah. But that's my take on it. I don't know if you have a.
Yeah, I kind of, yes, I do agree with you there on the, I guess the relative levels of connectedness to the Straw Hat crews, especially after the last year or so in the manga, where we've seen like these really apocalyptic kind of powers of the Mother Flame, and just how really dastardly the Gorosei are, and then you have this stuff with Kuma thinking to himself, oh, Straw Hat, you will be the man who saves the world. So when you start putting things into terms of like, Luffy is going to save the world from certain disaster, and like, look at the absolute destructive powers that the bad guys have that they are willing to use in order to maintain power or whatever. Like, if you put the situation in those stark of terms, then yeah, I think even the pirates who were rivals to Luffy, I think would at some point say like, hey, he's the guy we got to rely on to save everyone here. And that could be the very final fight of the series or whatever, but I could see them all coming around and doing their own version of the Genki Dama sort of thing to show their support for Luffy.
Yes.
And that would be pretty cool.
That would be cathartic.
Yes. Yeah. All right, let's go to Twitter now. We did get another small handful of questions, and we'll get through these.
I'm looking forward to one of these in particular. I saw them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, well, let's start here. Let's start with Pikmin Man at Gachimuchi Man #1, who says, hello, SGS. Hope you got some much-deserved R&R. My question is fairly simple. What did Santa get you guys?
Oh. You want to go first?
It was a little surprising. I think I got more. I might have gotten more One Piece stuff this year than I have been in the past. I don't know. That could have just been as simple as like, everybody asking my wife, like, what should we get him? And she'll just say, oh, just find something with One Piece on it or something like that. I don't know for sure, but I'm trying to remember. I got some like coasters, some like rubber, drink coasters with the Straw Hat Jolly Roger on them. I got a mug that I've been using for tea at night. That's I forget. It looks like it's like Luffy dressed in a black suit, so it kind of reminds me of one of his like movie outfits or something like
Strong
that.
World
might have been. Yeah. And then I got this one was amazing. My little sister got me. It is a bootleg. It's completely unlicensed, but it's a ceramic bowl that is fashioned like Chopper's pre-time skip hat. So it's like a burgundy, like purplish bowl, and so it goes under. So there's a decal with the little white X on the side, and then there's like two little antlers that kind of come down. They're almost like little extra legs on the side of the bowl. And it came with chopsticks and like a little spoon, so it's like a ramen bowl basically. It's pretty amazing, and yeah, it has a Jolly Roger on it, but then the only other like insignia or whatever is it's like pirate ramen bowl or something like that in, you know, a vaguely One Piecey font. So,
Oh my God,
great. Yeah,
Steven, I'm dying.
mm-hmm.
We did Secret Santa at the office, and you got to write down, like, you know, what do you want? Like, what theme? What theme do you want? Or and then like, or surprise me. And I was just like, damn it. If I don't write down surprise me, everybody's going to get me One Piece stuff. So I circled surprise me. Steven, what did everybody do? Got me One Piece stuff.
Yeah.
I love them. They're all amazing people. But one of them got me a bootleg Luffy's hat shaped teacup that turns upside down and goes on top of a plate, and therefore the plate is shaped like the brim of a hat.
Wow.
So it looks like Luffy's hat. So you and I, both, the official One Piece translator and collaborator from the people we know and love, got bootleg merch for One Piece for Christmas. Oh my God.
That's
perfect.
amazing.
But let's see. That was the office stuff. Interesting. I also got a not a mug, but I did get a teacup, a Japanese style, like you know me.
Oh yeah.
That has like One Piece characters, One Piece Jolly Rogers on it. So that was cool as well. A Frankie puzzle, and yeah, some good stuff.
Neat.
But let's see. The Santa Claus at home got me. Well, all right. This is personal, but my wife and I both wrote letters to Santa this year because we're nerds and we have too much time. So we both wrote letters to Santa, and what did I write? I wanted new black running shoes and black socks, some new black socks. So the reason such a quote unquote simple gift is because it is extraordinarily difficult to buy shoes my size over in Japan.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Dear Santa, please take care of getting me shoes. They're probably going to have to be ordered online, and part of the Christmas present is dealing with any returns and reordering that will have to be done."
Oh no.
Yeah. So.
Oh boy. Yeah. There were other gifts as well, but I don't need to go into all of my stuff. But that's good. Did the first try work out, or did it require?
I don't know
more?
yet. I haven't gotten.
Oh,
it.
okay.
Santa's still on his way, but the socks are great.
Nice. Let's see. We'll go to Alex at Ace Stars, who says, "Hey there, OPP. Question for all of you, regardless of time being weekly. Has there, I guess being caught up and reading weekly, has there been any plot decision you were initially against but turned around on as the series progressed, or the situation got acknowledged, given that sometimes it might take years for anything to get the spotlight in the story?"
Wow.
That's a big question. Well, I mean, I kind of, I mentioned some things regarding the Kuma flashback that or Kuma's past actions that I had initially been, not super impressed with like the rationale behind his interaction with Zoro. For as awesome as that was, and obviously the takeaway is Zoro being an absolute badass. There that always kind of sat odd. It was a little bit of a little thorn in my side of like, what? Why would Kuma do that? And so this is an example of something that actually kind of paid off for me, that I finally saw in a new light that made much more sense. I don't know. You got anything?
This may surprise some of you who don't know me personally, but I can be something of a stubborn person. And there's a reason for that. It's when I'm a little bit unique in that things I do, things I say, I think inside very, very much before I say or do something. And that's not to say I'm a great thinker. It's just to say I give time to what I do and how I try to present my ideas, myself, my words, my thoughts. And I don't always do a great job of it, but there is a lot of thought behind it. And when I choose something, when I choose to act or say or do, it's usually because I feel very strongly about that particular thing or idea. And when I'm met with resistance or different outcomes, or it's cheapened for some reason, I take that very personally because I have put a lot of thought into that, and if it's being misconstrued or misunderstood or dismissed without much thought, that hurts me deeply. I'm one of those people who feels very strongly about the use of words and language and meaning behind words, and that carries over to my thoughts on the manga and developments in the manga. Is if I feel very strongly about a development or how something turned out, it's very difficult for me to change my opinion. However, if I am met with evidence that shows me that I am undeniably and fallibly incorrect, it absolutely I will change my tune, and I will try to look at that at a different light. There are very few instances that I can even think of in the manga, if any, where I felt super strong about something and later on thought, you know what, it wasn't that bad. And I won't say that it's impossible, but I would say that it's very difficult. Leo not being involved in the defeat of Doflamingo, which seemed like it was heading straight towards that. Still very upset about that. I stuck my heels in the ground about Sukiyaki not being the Tengu. I forget his name. Hinotetsu or something like that.
Yes, Tenguyama Hitetsu.
Hitetsu. I was staunchly opposed to that, and I still am. I don't like it as a story development. I cannot think. This is also I'm a born of year of the boar, so it makes perfect sense. But I cannot think of anything that occurred, and I was just like, in retrospect, you know what? Yeah, I'm glad we did that, or yeah, I'm glad there was this. I can't think of a single instance that is anything that has disappointed in me in the story. I came around on. Maybe I'm just a stubborn person, or maybe I just that's how I feel. But I don't think there's ever been anything that's changed my opinion of how I viewed something. A lot of people have changed their ideas on Fishman Island. I still do not enjoy it. I cannot, really forgive how that was kind of just all tidied up at the end after all of that buildup. No, I'm sorry, I don't. Yeah, that's a great question.
It is a good question, yeah.
But there's nothing.
I think for me, usually when I do feel when I'm like noticeably annoyed by or disappointed by something, it often turns out to be the case that like, you know, that was kind of by design, where, you know, I'm like, oh, well, why didn't he do this or that? And then, you know, the next chapter or two, then the other shoe drops, and, you know, and then it's explained why, you know, such and such a thing didn't happen or did happen, or, you know, whatever the case may be. So I think it's rare. Yeah. But I agree with you, or I am in a similar boat with you, where, you know, some things that I find disappointing are that's just kind of the way they are, and there's there isn't necessarily a salvation for it, or I can see the rationale for why he did it the way that he did, but I just still don't like it, and, you know, that's just kind of a fact of life. And you know, and then you move on because the next thing comes along, and it's usually great, as is always the case with One Piece.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think lastly we have B at Champagne Brokey, who has a short list of questions here. I'm not sure if this is what you were referring to earlier or not.
Yeah, I think one of these is the question.
Okay. His first question is: have you ever heard of the series Esteban, Child of the Sun, and what are your thoughts on its connection with One Piece?
This is the question I was looking forward to.
Okay, you'll have to explain this to me because I'm not familiar with this.
And the reason I've been looking forward to this question is because I have no idea what that is. So I can answer that very easily. I honestly do not know what that is. Now, I if I recall correctly, I do believe this listener asked me this question before, and it was just a busy time, and I don't think I was able to get back to them, and I apologize about that. But I think what they're alluding to is that there are some connections to maybe like Nika, and I guess they're looking for if there are some. I'm guessing somebody put out theories, or maybe they have a theory that like maybe Oda was inspired by this series. I would have to look into it. I would say that any source of inspiration is certainly not impossible, but I don't know. I don't know if the age matches up with what would have been influential to him or not, and around, you know, the story creating process. But it's something I'll have to look into. But for now, I don't know. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm not familiar with it either. His next question is: do you think the Frankie dad cliffhanger will ever have a payoff?
This is the same answer I give a lot of questions that are like, do you think this will have a payoff? It's, if it serves the story, yes. If Oda's like, I might be able to weave this in here, and that would make fans happy, then yes. If there's no really great opportunity for it, or it doesn't present itself, then no. I don't mean to be, you know, give such a flimsy answer, but that's really what it comes down to. Like Oda's not champing at the bit to give us Frankie's dad. I don't think that's like, I got to draw this. But if there's a reason for it to show up, then I believe it will.
Yeah. I think there's, you know, you can tell when he's really eager to draw something, or to reach something in the story, because you'll usually see, you know, he'll give you reminders about it. He'll drop little hints now and then, and he maybe even, you know, get to answer a little teasing SBS question where he says, "Oh, well, you know, we'll just have to wait and see if when this happens in the story." But this has he's never done anything more than just kind of treat it like a little bit of a throwaway bit of backstory, and it's kind of up to whether or not he has an idea to if that's going to lead anywhere.
Yep.
Last question here is: could Akainu, a lava man, play the role of Surtur, the harbinger of Ragnarok on Elbaf?
It's absolutely possible. It depends how far Oda wants to tie in his representations and his allusions to mythology. But I mean, Elbaf is. I've a lot of complicated thoughts on what's coming down the pike for the next two, 3 arcs. And Akainu being like a boss character here, I don't know if that's necessarily
in the cards
or required by the bigger story. In the realm of possibility, if the world government, I mean, certainly with what's going on at Egghead right now, that's going to involve the world. It's going to get the world's attention. But do they know that the road poneglyph is in jeopardy, or in danger of being collected? Like all 4 in danger.
Right.
If that's the case, then yes, you have a reasonable, believable point of believability. For them to all gather there, but otherwise, I don't know. I think it might be a little bit too early, for that show of force to be there. But certainly, the world is going to be involved from this point on. But could he represent the character? Yes, absolutely.
Have you played the newer God of War games?
Yes.
Is Surtur a character in those? I have not played the Norse ones.
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't tell you. I beat the hell out of a lot of things, and the Valkyries were hard as
you
fuck.
move on.
Yeah. I do not know. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not super up on a lot of the intricacies of Norse mythology, and so I was curious if that was if that's a character who shows up big time in that, and that people would be familiar with the role there. I do think that in terms of like inspiration, like, you talked about like story mechanisms of like, how would Akainu be involved in that? I think just in general, in terms of his creative process, just because there's been such a body of work of seeing these types of questions get brought up again and again, and then seeing what happens with them in the story, is that I think when it comes to like an arc that has a certain theme that ties into folklore, that ties into fairy tales, things like that. What was that?
Mythology,
yeah. We've seen him incorporate details like that a lot of the time, and it often, begs these questions of like, okay, well, if this, if this person is, Little Red Riding Hood, then who's the big bad wolf? That sort of thing. And it feels like almost invariably we're sort of barking up the wrong tree. Like he will use these allusions to this sort of mythology or fairy tales or whatever to kind of give a flavor to hit your neurons that like, oh, this is familiar, this is reminding me of something, like I have I might have a previous emotional response to this, but it never is like a sort of paint by numbers, like, okay, now this person is going to do this and this person is going to do that, and it's all going to be a perfect allegory for this this story. It feels like he sets up those.
Well, I would argue that Wano
was probably the closest.
It's the closest, but yeah, let me pull that back. Then everything else, yes, you are absolutely 100% correct. But Wano is, and for good reason, probably the closest he's ever come to just doing that story.
The story of Momotaro.
Yes,
that is true.
But just because he did it there, doesn't mean he'll do it elsewhere. And because he has not for the rest of the chapter. Now, attack names, attack allusions, like you said, the little flavor of like, oh, it is, yes, he could absolutely represent that. But like, I don't know that that's particularly important to the plot, or it informs us of what's going to happen there.
Right.
Momotaro is a little bit different. Momotaro is definitely going to beat the Oni. It's going to happen. But
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm trying to remember some of the other, things. Just all those different little like children's rhymes and things that we saw, nursery rhymes that he used in like Whole Cake Island and settings like that, where they're just kind of fun allusions to things, allusions with an A, and he rarely kind of incorporates them into a more serious plot. But we will see. Like I'm really curious to find out, what the story of Elbaf will look like. We have some ideas. We have some kind of we're predisposed to envision certain plot lines, but we don't know until we get there. And I think I think we could. I would hazard a guess that we will probably know a lot more about that by the end of this year. That's my hunch. I know, wild branch to go out on, but
all right,
we'll
Stephen. Since Oda sometimes gets to do random stuff in the SBS, I'm going to tell you a random thing.
Okay.
You should totally watch the Japanese drama Brush Up Life.
Life.
I think the English name is Rebooting.
That's the name of the rebooting.
Yes, it's Rebooting, and the English name is Rebooting, and Brush Up Life is the Japanese title.
Oh, so catchy. Why didn't they use that one?
And that goes for listeners as well. Well, if you're around the same age, if you're not in your 30s or late 30s, maybe not for you. It's super dry, like an Asahi, but it's very good. It's from the comedian Bakarizumu.
Okay.
It's fantastic. And we just saw last night his recently made for TV movie, Trespassers, is the English title, and I think it's, what is the other? It's like Shin Yusha no Bansang or something like that.
Feast of the Intruder.
Yes. Two highly recommended. Very dry, very like, where is this going? And then, holy crap, this is hilarious stories. One is a movie, one is a TV series. Definitely check them out.
So it's still comedic.
Oh my god, it's super, super comedic.
Wow.
Like I was on the floor, comedic. Yes. And I think
Cool.
because we're the same age, I think also like it will hit some, especially Brush Up Life will hit some buttons, some familiar buttons, especially knowing Japanese culture as you do.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to
That's
check it out.
that's my Ichiyoshi for the week.
Very nice. I wish I had come with some kind of recommendation as well. No, I did. But we did rewatch over the New Year's. We did rewatch Tokyo Godfathers, the animated movie, which was it. I mean, I've always loved that movie. I think it's a real classic, and I have to say that the I'm not sure if the dub is brand new as well, but the Blu-ray version that they released has a dub. I don't think it was dubbed initially on its original English release. I think it was subtitles only. They did a dub. We watched it dubbed, and it was really like phenomenally well done. I was quite taken aback by how good it was.
That is high praise.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But yeah, I think that will cover all of our questions. Thank you all for sending in your queries and your thoughts. We always love to hear you out and try to give you some answers. I guess I'll have to study this Esteban Child of the Sun thing and see what that's about.
Into it too. Yep.
But yeah, until then, I guess we'll probably catch up in a couple of weeks and find out what's new then.
Oh, what future me will know about One Piece.
Oh yeah. I hate that guy. I'm so jealous. Yeah. So if people would care to follow you or contact you, Where can they find you, Greg?
You can look to the sky and shout, Ochimusha 108! Or you can, I guess you could search that on Twitter. Either way.
That'll work too. Yeah, you can. You can follow me on Twitter at Translatosaurus, although I do not interact with there. I'll look at stuff on Twitter, but I don't actually actively use it anymore. Or you can find me on that Blue Sky site at stephenpaul.bsky.social. And with that, I think we'll pass it on to the next segment.
Thanks, Steven.
Nice talking to you, Greg.
And thanks, Simba.
This is the Manga Recap for volume 107. I don't have the title.
That's what it's called. It is called The Legendary Hero. And we did talk about the cover for this one. This came out back in November, and we're finally getting to it now. There's been a lot of stuff going on. It's okay because there isn't really a ton of like super important, time is of the essence type of material in this one. You kind of get what you see on the cover, which is Garp, Sabo, Kobe, what's her name, Kujaku, Hibari, a lot of the sword folks, because most of this volume is it's all the stuff on Pirate Island with Kobe and Garp and them, and a lot of the flashback of what happened with Vivi and Sabo and Cobra in the throne room and all of that stuff. So not a ton of Straw Hats, which is why we only have Luffy on the cover from the crew.
And it's well timed because as of this episode, the Egghead is starting the anime, obviously. So we're seeing a lot more of these characters in motion. And I remember, I forget how much we talked about the color schemes, whether it was kind of jarring or stuff, but they're growing on me. I think Gru's is the most surprising.
The green
with the
I love
that
it.
lime green hair, the lime green hair with the jumpsuit from the Royal Tenenbaums. It's great. But I really like Hibari and Kujaku. I really like their color schemes.
I kind of wish Hibari had a different hair color, I guess.
I kind of like it. She feels very pastel. Like she feels like very like I like that she's like.
It should have been pink or orange.
Pink or orange. I was thinking like another blue.
But then everyone would think she's Kobe's sister. That's the problem.
I was thinking blue hair because gotta have blue hair. But I guess only Vivi.
I was
blue
joking
hair.
about pink or orange because we just get so many of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that like I was hoping something along the lines of like how Yamato has the two tones, in his hair. So I was trying to like I was imagining something like a cooler color for her. I think my only problem is I guess Sword is that group of Sword is like pretty Aryan. Right? Like
I was gonna say when we first got this cover, we definitely got our gripes out about how like at least half of the people on this cover are blonde, which is a little bit weird for Oda. But
yeah, I remember it's like the sketches too. Like sometimes like I kind of like some of the things Oda was going for more, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I think also I'm just like an older jaded fan, so some of the covers don't really like grab me like they used to. And then but then again, I kind of go back and look at old covers. I'm like, well, there's nothing that special about it. I think I was just younger and was just like hyped for like anything,
I wonder when he's coming up because he obviously he's drawing in black and white, and so I wonder when he comes up with his characters if he's like, okay, this character has light hair or this character has black hair, and in other words, like, is it going to be white or is it going to be black? And then, like, secondarily, he has to be like, okay, wait, which color is this actually? When he finally has to draw them in color,
right?
Yeah, that's the impression I get during the speed drawings. Yeah, he hasn't
crazy.
actually thought about the colors yet until he has to color
Yeah.
them.
Thank you for bringing that up, Sam. I wanted to bring it up too. It's like, oh, he had no idea what he was doing until he was coming up with this volume cover. But I think that's one of the coolest things about the Ichiro staff account. I think that's one of my favorite things about art, just in general, is just seeing the process. That means so much to me. So I'm really thankful you don't see that from a lot of manga artists. So I'm really appreciative that we do get to see behind the curtain.
Yeah, it's definitely worth. I mean, obviously Oda is very particular about the way that he produces his art, and particularly the manga art specifically. But it is really nice that that he does these experiments, and then we get something really cool out of it, like seeing how he puts it all together. It's very neat. So the underside of the cover. This is a very very understated Panda Man. Hidden Panda Man here, and actually it does tie into one of the questions in the SBS. It took me a while to find it. So Hibari on her, she has that like shoulder pack, which is kind of like one of those drawstring backpacks, right, with like the flap over the top or something. And there's a little like plushie, like a little like cell phone charm plushie that sticks out of the top of the flap. It's a little bear. And that is what has turned into Panda Man. It's like he's crawling out of her bag onto the underside of the cover illustration, which is pretty subtle. I feel like he's done a lot more crazy ones recently, so that was interesting. But I think it's more interesting once you see the SBS question about it. So we'll get to that a little bit later. Oda's comment here. He has a kind of weird. His illustration that he did is basically of Chopper, a pre-time skip Chopper, like with the sakura petals falling, and he's standing on two legs, but his face and his head is a realistic reindeer head, and it looks like his hooves are fairly realistic too. But he still kind of has Chopper's proportions, which is an odd experiment there. And his comment is, so the live action One Piece has been unveiled. It's a huge hit around the world. I'm so excited about that. And it occurred to me that it's quite possible that Luffy's actor, Iñaki-kun, as he calls him, and the others could end up becoming like big stars in Hollywood. And that would mean that then I am friends with Hollywood stars. Isn't that crazy? And he says, all right, everybody in the cast, please don't forget about me, with a little cry kanji. And he's like, all right, back to drawing by myself in my room. Here comes volume 107.
As a working artist in Hollywood, basically, I really relate with that. It's like, oh yeah, I know some interesting people. Well, I'm gonna just stay in my room and draw all the time.
Yeah, I thought about you.
Everyone congratulate me. No, I'm kidding. I'm just saying, like, I think it's very funny, like, that Oda said that.
Yeah, but you live in Hollywood. You're friends with Hollywood stars, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember that one time you saw the home ec teacher from Superbad?
I did.
Yeah.
Nice.
For people that don't know, I did work in a store in Beverly Hills, and I kind of just kept it kind of cool with any celebrities that came in because there would be a lot of them. But when the home ec teacher from Superbad came in, I had to just say, "You were in Superbad." And
that would be really funny if you said to her, "If you don't work in this store, get out of this store."
She would not have remembered her line and would have been like, "Who's this fucking asshole?"
Fogel. Hi.
We've talked about me for too long now.
All right.
Let's talk about this volume.
Yeah. So yeah, this has 12 chapters, as I mentioned. This is primarily the stuff that happens off of Egghead. We begin with it's 1077 through 1088. and that starts with Luffy and Lucci teaming up on S-Bear and Zoro fighting S-Hawk and all of that stuff. And then it ends in 1088 with like a Garp having been taken down by Kuzan and sort of everything going back to Egghead. And our first SBS segment here has a pretty amazing header. I'm not sure. So remind me, do any of you three have this volume? Am I just explaining it blind to you guys?
Nope.
You're explaining it blind.
Cool.
I have it in spirit.
You have it in spirit. All right. So the header illustration
should I say that I'm looking at the wiki?
I mean, you could do that if it helps. If it helps you react to the images that I'm going to be describing. But the header is. It looks like a very stark. There's like an explosion in the background, and it's Garp, who has his head. He has his hand all the way around Fish Oda, his head, and he's saying, "Let's start the SBS." And Oda's comment, in the text following that is like, "Whoa, yikes! Okay, I guess we're starting." And he's kind of like bummed about it. And the first real question is, all right, today's guest is Odachi. Hey, did you cut your head? And Oda's like, oh yeah, I really wanted to freshen up, so I just kind of chopped off a bunch of my head there. Like, no, I didn't. So yeah, we're doing Vegapunk jokes, by the way. The next comment is pretty amazing, and Oda drew a little doodle for this. It says, when Vegapunk had his gigantic head, how did he wash it? And so Oda drew this picture where there's a pool. There's a pool that is large enough to fit Vegapunk's head in it, and he is lying on the edge of the pool so that his head is like dangling in the water, and he's dry on the side of the pool. And Oda's like, this is how he does it. And also the pool is filled with these little sponge fish that will swim around and will scrub his scalp so he can scrub it clean, because of course his hands are far too short to wash any of it, basically.
That's like getting a pedicure, like with like a real one.
Like with the little those little guppy
little
fish things, that eat
Yeah.
all of your dead skin.
Oda could have said something like, "Oh, he just like runs his head through like the clouds and the cloud water washes him."
That's a pretty good answer. The next question is, Odachi, is the theory true that you have a what was it called, the Stella? Is it true that you have a Stella and 6 satellites? And Oda says, yes, yeah, it's true. So from left to right, my 6 satellites are York, 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 and York. It sucks. So I guess he's just all greed in Oda's head.
Oh, I thought that is. He really eats and poops a lot.
I mean,
I forgot that
could be
York,
true. Yeah,
I thought York was the her characteristic was greed. I just thought, the
bodily
the 7
functions.
deadly,
Yeah,
the 7 deadly sins.
I mean, yeah, it's not far off, I'm sure. The next one, these are all kind of rapid fire here. The next one is could it be that Emu's real identity is a person with a super pointy beak, and they drew their own little version, so it's just like a regular looking dude, but he has like this really long and pointy schnoz that is like pointing upward, and that is like the little crown protrusion from the top of Emu's head. And Oda says, and this is literally what he says. He says, "Okay, leaving that on red." It's pretty amazing. Yes, they have a term for that in Japanese too.
It's like, here's my read receipt. Next question.
Exactly. And the next one is, this is how long ago this volume came out. Because I believe I mentioned this when we saw this in the manga. There's a question, what is the name of Bonnie's devil fruit? I'm sure you've gotten a lot of questions that are similar to this. Can you please tell us the answer? And Oda's like, yeah, I did get a bunch of these questions, and that helped me realize that I did not actually say what it was called yet. So it is the age fruit, and she is an age manipulation woman or person. And he's like, oh, I guess for the sake of the people who don't read the SBS, I should probably mention this in the manga too. And I think that was like maybe a week or two. This volume came out like maybe a week or two before he mentioned that in the flashback. So that's when that happened. And our last question here on this page is right after Luffy meets Bonnie, the first thing he does is call her Boggy, but then he changed to calling her Bonnie. Was there a reason for this? And so Oda drew up the panel where you see, they're basically climbing down a ladder through like a chute of some kind. And where he's saying, oh, yeah, sorry, Boggy. And she says, Bonnie. And then he goes, oh, Bonnie. In this scene, right before this, Luffy was very excited about the fact that Bonnie's dad was a cyborg. He thought that was so cool. And so he mixed up so he's thinking of cyborgs. And so he calls her Boggy by mistake. And then, when she corrects him, he feels bad. He feels awkward about it. And so he corrected himself. And yes, even Luffy, if kind of embarrassed that way, will not make the same mistake again. So that's why he does not continue to call her Boggy the way that he does with a lot of his nicknames. Because he felt bad about it. All right. The next
question.
Yeah.
So I guess he could also have called her Borgie.
Yeah, I mean, I could have written it that way, but there is a difference. So, cyborg, they do elongate the O sound there, so it's cyborg. But he calls her boogie, so it's a lot, it's shorter, so it has less of the kind of the extra R, because that's how R's tend to be represented in Japanese, is they just elongate the O, because then it becomes O. Instead of O, it's O or. So, yeah. The next SBS header.
It's like the opposite of British.
Yes. Yeah. It's cool. The next SBS header is a very cute one of Atlas writing I guess this is a Vegapunk like soda bottle or something, and is flying through space, and the bottle is making an SBS like with like genie smoke or something, and there's like a whale floating, there's fish, there's a UFO, lots of stars. It's very cute. And the first question, this is actually very timely because this just happened in the anime. It says, hello, Oda-san. When Luffy was talking about the end of his dream, Caribou was inside the barrel. Does that mean that he knows what the end of Luffy's dream is as well? And there's a helpful little drawing. He put up the panel where like Caribou's barrel is like barely. It's just like a corner of it is visible at the edge of the panel, and he put a giant arrow next to it that says Caribou on it, so you know that he's right there. And he says, yeah, so a lot of people were wondering about this or worried about this, but look at the page before that, and we see there's a panel where Caribou is shown inside the barrel with the chains on it, and he's going, wait, what Mary Jo, we're going to Mary Jo? No, we can't do that, like I can't hear. So Oda explains, yeah, so when they were talking loudly, he could just barely make out some of the things they were saying, but not really their regular speaking voices. So it's fine. He does not know. Only the Straw Hats have heard what Luffy's dream is. So the secret is safe from Caribou, thankfully. Next question is a question for Odachi. My dad's head is becoming more and more of an egghead. Is there any way to stop this from happening? And Oda says, "No, it's fine. Balding is a natural process. Don't worry about it." However, it is possible that he will get smarter and smarter as time goes on. So please be careful of his scientific ability. Civilization never stops. The progress of civilization never stops. So making some egghead jokes there. The next question is if the new and old 3 admirals from the Navy were in the real world in the present day, what jobs would they have? And Oda says, I think he's like kind of lol. He's like, I think all 5 of them would be radio personalities. And he says, yeah, the 3 admirals, all night Nippon. And he's like, if you don't know what that is, look it up. So that is a very famous long running radio show that I forget who is that, like an NHK thing. It's under the Nippon Broadcasting System. Yeah, I don't know. It's a late night radio talk show. It has been running since October of 1967, so it's super long running. And fun fact, the theme song, the opening song that they play in the show, I don't know if they started this from the beginning or if this started later on. The theme song is Bittersweet Samba by Herb Alpert's Tijuana Brass from the infamous Whipped Cream and Other Delights album, which would have been probably pretty new when the show started. So that's kind of funny.
Pretty wild.
Yeah.
That's also the same artist who that's the Little Spanish Flea artist as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah. Yeah.
Everybody knows it.
Good old easy listening there. So yes, apparently that's what all 5 of the admirals would be good at, which I don't know if that's related to the fact that they're all based off of real actors, so he can just easily imagine them hanging out and chatting like on a talk show. But there you go. Lastly, we are referencing a scene from Wano. The scene where Zoro wakes up in the shrine, and Hiyori and Otoko are both like draped all over him, and Brook is seeing them and reacting, and he kind of has like the eye bulge thing, but since he has no eyes, it's just this weird little black nothingness that's like the shadow is bulging out of his eyes. And so the question is, when Brook saw Zoro sleeping with Otoko and Hiyori, what was the thing that came out of his eyes? And Oda's like, oh, that's a good question. Something is coming out. He doesn't have eyeballs, but something's definitely coming out of there. It looks black, so maybe it's coffee. I don't know. Maybe it's a black cat. I'm just gonna say it's a black cat. So there you go. New canon facts. A little black cat lives inside Zoro's skull and pops out. That's pretty cool. Let's see. Where is our next SBS? A couple of chapters forward. All right. Next one, we have a very adorable header for the SBS, which features the... Oh, God, what did I call it? Was it just flower guns? Or flower bullets? What do they call these? Vegapunk's invention of the flowers that pop out of the guns. Very hippie style.
The hippie bullets.
Yeah.
Whatever, yeah.
And it's Hibari is kind of smiling shyly with her gun, and then there's three guys, rough and tumble looking guys in the background who have their flintlocks and stuff, and the SBS flowers are popping out of them, and they're all looking very enchanted and very shoujo-y. So the first question here is, previously, and this is going back to chapter 7 of the manga, Kobe's dream or his goal was to be a Marine officer. A guy. He needs the what do they call it? The stripes? No, whatever they call the brass of the Navy. He wanted to be a senior officer, and now he is a captain. And now later on, we see the panel from chapter 453 when he shows up with Garp at the end of, or is that? Yeah, that's at the end of Water 7. Then he says his goal is to be an admiral. And so the question is, now that he, as a member of Sword, he has tendered his resignation. Does that mean can he still rise in rank? So can he still climb the ladder, the hierarchy of the Navy? And Oda says, okay, so maybe the explanation of Sword was a little complicated, a little convoluted. So allow me to explain. In chapter 1080, he says to Aokiji that his resignation has been submitted and they can cut me loose at any time, which means that they have his resignation on hold, but he is not actually fired. He hasn't been severed from the Navy hierarchy. It just means that if, as a member of Sword, any member of Sword, if they go off and do something really reckless and they get taken as a hostage or something, the Marines can then decide on the spot to accept that resignation, to pull it out of the drawer and say this is now valid, and he is no longer a Navy sailor, and then and cut him loose. Basically, that's what the Sword is. The Navy members who want to be free to kind of do their own thing and not feel like tied to the I guess all the punishment systems of the Navy or the responsibilities of it. And so that is that's the thing that they do with Sword, which is still a little bit convoluted, but it's
the government can basically say, we don't take responsibility for your actions, therefore.
Yeah, pretty much. And continuing on the Sword theme on this page, the next question is, okay, hey Odachi, I don't think anyone else has realized this, but since I am a mature adult, it occurred to me immediately. I have noticed, is it not true that Hibari from Sword is maybe has the hots for Kobe, or he uses like this kind of funny old slang term, which is honoji, which means like ho is short for horeru, which means to be in love with, and honoji just means like the first letter of horeru. And Oda's like, wow, honoji, wow, that's such an old saying. Wow, it says here on your letter that you're 35. Yeah, so for you kids there, that means she likes him. And he says, well, I'm a dense, I'm a simple country lawyer, so I don't know. So he kind of feigns innocence, or ignorance, I should say. So yeah, we're pretending that Hibari might not actually be in love with Kobe. And the last question about Hibari here is about this cute little plushie that she has attached to her bag. I want to know more about this person says. And Oda's like, oh, you noticed that, huh? Yes, it's a little bear. And it's been a little, comfort animal for Hibari ever since she was a little girl. She's always treasured this little bear. And one day, she was in battle and Kobe saved her life, but she lost the bear. And a few days later, Kobe shows up and he's all injured and he's getting chewed out by his superior officer. And there's a little stuffed bear in his hand because he went back to the battlefield and looked for Hibari's little treasure and brought it back to her. And she thanked him tearfully. And she secretly called the bear, instead of Kobe senpai, she called him Kopi senpai, or Copy, instead of Kobe, which is kind of funny. And he says, now I'm just a simple country lawyer, so I don't know if she has the hots for Kobe. So Kind of goes back to that gag. So if it wasn't clear, Hibari likes Kobe.
Okay, I was about to say, I'm like, is Oda not having fun or what? Come on.
Nobody likes Kobe.
Thank you for that.
The next SBS.
Helmeppo likes Kobe. Like it's all... Sorry.
I do not.
I'm playing out the whole scene in my head with everybody at G14. Like it's...
Yeah. Yeah, wow. Well, I guess it would be nobody likes Helmeppo. That would be the the punchline that the teacher says.
Yes.
So our next SBS is I like this header. It is a real callback here to a Long Ring Longland, where Aokiji, in the first time we see him, has a frozen Luffy on the grassland there, and Luffy is the B, while the S shapes are kind of frozen in the grass around him. And Kuzan is like, SBS, what the hell is this? Or something. I'm sure it's a reference to some line that he said in that scene. He's got the sleep mask on and everything. So our first question here is, I have something to say to Oda Sensei. Why did you create a character like Kujaku? Now you're gonna bring all the perverts like Sanada around again. And when what everybody really wants is a nice proper SBS. And Oda says, no, the perverts aren't going to show up for Kujaku. Don't worry. And I haven't seen any letters from Sanada here, so no worries. Peace and tranquility have come to the SBS at last. And is very excited about that. So the next question is, please tell us the name of Kujaku's whip, since that is her main weapon. And Oda's like, okay, all right, hang on. I think I have another question here about the whip, or some more questions about the whip. So here he pulls out the next question. I'm really curious about the material that Kujaku uses in this whip that she clearly loves so much. If you could tell me that, or possibly if you could have her discipline me with that whip, from One Piece Observation Club. And the next question is, Odachi. Hi, Odachi. So about the Kujaku from the Navy. So I have a feeling that she ate the muchi muchi fruit, which is like muchi is the name for whip, but also if you say muchi muchi, it means like hourglass figure. She has a really hot body, so I think she ate the muchi muchi fruit, and that's how she got her muchi muchi body. Please have her discipline me too, from this other person. And it is like, are you guys morons? Like, what is going on here? Sanada isn't even here, and now I actually have a whole bunch of perverts who want her to whip them with her whip. All right, do you guys not realize that like whips are actually really scary? And he says her whip, Kujaku's whip, is it's called. Let's see, can I read this? Okay, is it Beethoven? So I think it's a Beethoven joke, but it's like using kanji that means like the battle soldier's whip. And it's made with steel. It has a steel core. It can crack a stone in two. So yeah, enjoy that, you perverts. So he gets the last word on them. And the next question is, so I understand that you have been studying, you've been researching how to draw a very attractive bottom. And I'm guessing it's only been about the female butts. So what happened to the guys' butts, huh? And that comes from pen name. Please draw a law shower scene. And Oda's response is, now I'm being threatened to draw men's butts. And he finally ends it with another comment of this is just this reader's comment is just, this is what the SBS is like. And Oda's like, no, it's not. So he's fighting with his readers again. Classic SBS. We love it so much.
Boy, that pen name, the Law Shower Scene pen name, that could be any number of people on this podcast.
Yeah. I don't know. Their identity is safe with us. All right. Next one for the SBS is, wow, this is a really crazy looking header. It is Chopper's in a bubble, and there's a squirrel in a bubble. I'm not sure what this monster is. It looks like a bear, maybe, in the middle. And there's a little SBS in the bubble with Chopper. That one's creepy. This question, all right, now this is a burning question that needed to be answered. It is, why is Prince Groos's hat brim so long? And Oda says, all right, so we're going to go back to the childhood years. Groose he's a gloomy little child. He's always looking down at the ground as he walks. And he's always bumping into things, walls, cows, people, pirates. When he bumped into the pirate, that's when things got really bad for him. And so Groose's mother said, all right, I need to help him out. He needs help here. So he doesn't bump into anything anymore. I'm going to give him a hat with a really, really long brim on it. And that's why his hat is very long. So there you go. The hot Groose lore.
Cows,
yeah.
See, I keep thinking that Groose is like a human Katamari, where he'll just bump into anything, hoping that he'll
he'll roll it up,
sweep it up, roll it up.
Let's see. So the next question is it's kind of like a design reference one here. In chapter 1065, you introduced Dr. Vegapunk, the what did I call it? Was this Vegapunk the Wise, aka Pythagoras? And I realized that it looked a lot like the old Showa era tokusatsu show Gambare Robocon. It looks like a Robocon from this old live action show. Was that part of the design influence? And so, there's a little picture. It says copyright Ishinomori Pro, so I guess it was maybe an Ishinomori manga or TV show or something like that. And it is definitely in that sort of that like old 60s B movie robot with the little round head and like the sort of extendable stretchy arms, like the air vent arms, and he's
sort of like the Lost in Space robot.
Yeah, he's got
Robbie
he's got the big eyes and then kind of like a little head ornament thing on the top. So very similar to Pythagoras. And Oda's like, yeah, it was. I'm surprised you knew that. That was that was when I was in kindergarten. So we're talking like over 40 years ago on TV. So yeah, when you talk about robots, it's like, this is the shape. That's what I was thinking when I drew this. And he says also, incidentally, the enemy, the arch rival for Robocon is this guy called Bada Man. And he says he includes a note. Bada Man is a character who appears in the tokusatsu show Robot Hachi-chan or Robot 8-chan. And let's see. So this Bada Man, which if you remember, Buggy's power would mean the man who disassembles things or chops them up. I always hated that guy because he was always trying to take Robocon apart. So I think he's like, I feel like that persistence that he has a lot to do with Buggy's persistence. Those are linked in my mind. That's how I came up with these ideas. So that's a little bit of why Buggy is such an annoying recurring character, basically.
I think back when Pythagoras was introduced, Joey called the Robocon reference.
Really? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if anybody was going to, it would have been Joey.
I mean, Joey, you're listening to this. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But I do remember that.
Yeah. It might have been, or it could have been some other, fairly similar robot type character. It is a very classic design. And speaking of designs, the next question is about the vice captain or vice commander of the Northern Revolutionary Army Forces, which is a guy named Giron, which, if you remember, he's the dude who has like these weird goggles on, and they do that thing where like he eats the spyglass to like cover up the fact that he was spying or something like that. Anyways, he has funny eyes because jiro means like to stare at something. And he says, did the name Giron come from the protagonist of Battle Mech Zabungle, Giron Amos, which is an old anime? And I always remember Zabungle from Mike Toole from Discotheque, who would constantly retweet his old tweet that was like, that really Zrungles my Zabungle. Because it starts with the letter X. It's a very bizarre name. And Oda's like, what? How do you know Giron? Like, are you old? Are you an Osan? This also is about a 40-year-old anime. So I drew him, just remembering that his face was very round. And if you look at the design for him, he has giant goggles, and then he has these huge headphones on that look like the can on a string style, just like sticking out of both sides of his head. And he's like, yeah, I can even sing the song. I like to say the childhood memories are pretty amazing. So not that you needed confirmation that Oda was definitely drawing on a lot of very old like childhood memories for some of his Egghead era designs. But yeah, very, very much classic retro stuff from his childhood.
I feel like "Are you old?" is a comment that we get whenever we make a reference on the show.
Yeah. Okay, I think last SBS, I think it is. Yes. Great header on this one. It is Wapol arranging his Wapo metal toys, and he's got little Hako on, his little dog with the square head is with him, and the toys all are they have little pedestals the little plastic pedestals that they sit on, and on those it says SBS. So great callback. He says, yes, question corner, each one costs 50 berries. And now we have this is another good callback to the famous Quiet in the Elevator scene from Dressrosa, which we made lots of jokes about, I remember. And this person says, hello, Oda-sensei. I'm so happy to be here in the SBS. Wow, I'm so excited. So here's my question. And then it says like elevator doors close, and then it's just silence. Shh. And there's nothing at the end of the rest of the letter. And Oda's like, Oh, okay. Next question. So we get to the next question. And this one is from the scene where we see a Vivi with Wapol and Morgan's at the World Economic Journal. And it says, "Oh, Sensei, I'm about to flip out here. In chapter 1074 on the last page, you have to tell me the name of the girl whose clothes Vivi borrowed." And she's like, I am going to go, I want to barge in on her and say like, I was supposed to lend her my clothes. And so, yeah, that was the girl with the little like newsy cap who was like, "Oh, I lent her my outfit. I'll never wash it for the rest of my life." Like sort of how people say when you shake somebody, you shake a star's hand and like, "Okay, I'll never wash it again." Basically the same thing as that. And Oda's like, "All right, chill. You don't have to be so angry." as you saw in that scene, Vivi was fleeing from her life from the Holy Land, and she was, in mind and body and spirit, she was completely at wit's end. And so, the person who, sidled up to her and took mercy on her, gave her an outfit to wear, was the popular, the reporter for the World Economic Journal's popular fashion corner, the On the Street collection, and the name of this reporter is. So I haven't actually worked on this yet, so I don't have the pithy name for it. So you'll have to wait and see when the volume comes out what her name is. But it's another one of Oda's classic punny names, where in Japanese her name is Yang E no Chinode-san, which if you read it all as one statement, Yang E no Uchinode means it's basically like an Osaka style way of saying like. Ooh, really? Like, you want mine? You're okay with mine? So basically, a joke on the fact that she was, just like, oh, you would be willing to wear my clothes? Like how, what an honor sort of thing. And she is 24, and Oda says that she's a very diligent reporter and is very popular with others. So there you go. That's the backstory for that little background character. And one more thing here. Let's see. In chapter 1076, when we see Shanks's crew, Lucky Lou is he is bantering with Ben Beckman, where he says specifically like, "Yeah, hey Beck, like who are you to talk? Like who do you think who do you think he bears a grudge against, or who do you think he's mad at?" Referring to Kid. He says, does that mean that it was Ben Beckman who stole Kid's arm? And Oda says, yeah, it seems like that is the case. I mean, this is the world of pirates after all. Like, only the dangerous survive. Only the crazy survive. So anyways, that is it for the SBS, this segment. See you all next volume. And then there's one more letter, and it's shh, and then it's like, ding, the elevator doors open. He's like, okay, so here's my question. Wait, is the SBS over? So the guy from before with the elevator joke comes back at the end and is too late to ask his question. So fun little meta joke there.
See, we never had a character as funny as Elevator Man.
Yeah. I thought, weren't we assuming that it was like a fart joke too, that like somebody farts in the elevator or something and then everybody laughs about it or something like that? I don't remember.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. But that is all of the SBS for volume 107. I don't recall. I'm just kind of assuming that there probably was nobody we know in the Usopp gallery. It's very hard to get in there, but that's
one of these days.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. They have a lot of there's a giant 2-page ad in the back. Like the first ad page in the back is One Piece Netflix with all the cast and Iñaki saying, "You're coming with us, right?" And all of these like number one like most popular contents for the week on IMDb, and like number one for an English series on Japanese Netflix, and all these very very specific categories, which is kind of funny. But I guess that's those are the benchmarks we have nowadays in this modern world.
My mom says it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. Anecdotally, it has been a very popular show with moms.
Yeah,
I feel like that's all we've heard. Man, I'm just looking here. There's like 3 separate pages that feature Iñaki and the rest of the cast on them. Three double page promotional spreads.
Every page you turn is like, how come you haven't started watching it yet?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wait.
Exactly.
Why aren't you watching? Have you watched it yet?
And And it's also on the dust cover, the back flap of the dust cover itself. So, yep. This I believe this was probably the first volume that came out post-release of the Netflix series. So it makes sense that they would really be hammering it home on this one. And that's it for Volume 107. Are there any questions or any last comments or anything?
This kind of, this one was from so long ago, and I kind of forgot about it. And I think after going through it, it kind of, it kind of makes sense why I've kind of forgotten about it. Like, I don't think anything huge was really established in this one.
Not a lot of crucial information for sure, story wise, and like I was saying, the volume itself is when you see it and it's oh yeah, there was nothing, there was no forward motion on Egghead story at all at this point in the manga, so it is kind of a little bit of a black sheep of a volume in some senses, but
right.
Not to say that it wasn't cool material, though. It's just that's the opportunity cost when you don't focus on the Straw Hats.
Just getting more attention on Bonnie and Sword.
Indeed.
I think nothing else really kind of stuck out with me this one, but we covered it. Sorry, I said that with a pen in my mouth. I apologize. Yeah, we covered it.
We did. We did our job.
Something wrong with the radar, sir. But I don't know if Sam has anything else to add.
Not particularly, no.
All right. Maybe we should talk about the anime.
I think
let's do that. This is the anime recap for episode 1090, A New Island, Future Island Egghead. I'm your host Sam, and today with me we have Bandai Namco's own Steve Yurko.
Hi there. We make Dragon Ball Z games, and we always go back and start at the Saiyan saga.
Can you tell them to make Fighters 2?
Make Fighters 2. The company I totally represent.
Yeah.
Make sure maybe put a sale on that DLC. Maybe I'll go back and buy the rest of those characters and not play because I'm not good at fighters.
Because we sometimes talk to Bandai Namco, we should clarify that Steve does not work for Bandai Namco.
No, we've had people on from Bandai Namco before. I haven't been confused for anyone else, this badly since Steven got the job translating One Piece officially in 2012, and everyone kept congratulating me.
Nice.
Oh my god, yeah, Steven's been translating One Piece for over 10 years now.
Yeah, since late Fishman Island.
I think it was beginning of Punk Hazard. I think that was his. I think that was the start.
I think wrong. One of his Shonen Jump Alpha trial runs was one of the wrap up episodes in Fishman Island.
You're probably right.
That's what I remember. I was there. I was a listener of the One Piece podcast.
What do I know?
So the episode opens and the crew is being attacked by the very bright red giant robot shark that was trying to gobble them up at the cliffhanger of last week's.
Mm-hmm. Really great.
And,
really great cliffhanger too. I forgot. Oh yeah, that's right. The big shark panel came out great in this.
Because Luffy, Chopper, and Bonnie, they all get kind of swept away in the action and are at risk of drowning. They're all Devil Fruit users, so Jinbei, the official lifeguard of the crew now, has to go swimming for him.
He's not the best swimmer. Who was the best swimmer before Jinbei? I guess would it be Sanji?
It would have to be Sanji, I think.
Yeah.
So Jinbei goes after them. Probably, I would feel pretty safe with Jinbei as my lifeguard.
I'd feel safe with Jinbei regardless.
So Frankie's taking the helm. He's on. He's steering the ship. He's got a new motor, ship's bottom, a rabbit screw, and it's like a little fan under the boat with rabbit ears. Yes.
There was a little bit of this in the previous episode, of course, or maybe it was just. Sorry, maybe my memory's fuzzy. I watched this episode this morning, but I was watching these scenes, and it just reminded me. And no, I had a thought of wow, it's really cool to see the Straw Hat Pirates do
boat stuff,
piratey naval boat stuff again.
Yeah.
It's a pirate show again.
Like Whole Cake had a lot of good stuff there. But the sharks got torpedoes, and the Sunny capsizes. But to interrupt the robot sharks' attack is a giant robot of some kind that looks like what's the old anime, Gigantor?
Gigantor, yeah, that's the westernized version. I forget what the original character's called, but very Gigantor.
Tetsujin number, I had it pulled up. Tetsujin number 28.
Shout out to our good friend Joey Weiser, who, this is his bag baby, and he quickly pointed out, yep, Gigantor colors.
Well, the Gigantor is just gray. What the colors are a reference to, I'm not sure.
Oh, I thought. Sorry, this is this is behind the scenes stuff. But I'm I thought our discussion within members of the podcast. Joey posted a colored image of Gigantor. I'm yeah, I'm aware.
I think Joey was watching to see. Oh, I guess if you look at the toys though, I'm looking at a very blue Gigantor toy.
Right. Sorry, folks, I can't remember where Joey.
I know Joey was looking at the opening when it came out, and he's like, "Oh, is that going to be the official colors, or is this a JoJo stylized color?"
Where did our good friend Joey post that?
That would be on Twitter.
This is fun to talk about. Yay! Sorry, but let's just say Gigantor for fun.
Tetsujin number 28,
or that.
So the Straw Hats are in the process of drowning. They don't have a Jinbei to save them. But Brooke has Zoro to save him, and then Sanji's got the girls, and then poor Usopp's struggling. And Frankie is also on his own, but he's not struggling as much. Come back to the eye catch of the episode, our brand new egghead eye catches, leading us into the commercial and leading us out of the commercial. And we come back, and we're at Naval Branch G14, and we see Tashigi looking after the Punk Hazard kids. We're getting some member berries for Punk Hazard, just to catch us up, because it's not like one of the more common revisited recap. No,
arcs. And I think I think that's a good thing. I don't think people often think about the kids from Punk Hazard, so I think this was worthy.
We're not learning about Ace dying again, at least.
No, or seeing Tama eat food for the first time in a while. One thing I did notice is I think Toei's kind of done away with the filter they've applied to old footage before the Wano stylization of the series, or maybe they've kind of
they've always been kind of all over the place with it.
Yeah, it's
like every episode kind of takes a new approach, because nothing got completely standardized.
Because while often it feels way more obvious there's a filter on it, kind of like Dragon Ball Super, but not as much, but of that kind
I know what you mean.
Vein. But I think lately, I think towards the end of Wano, or at least after Wano ended, I think they've kind of laid off it a bit, or maybe they've kind of just found a new way of doing it. Because for me, it's not as distracting. Maybe most people aren't hung up on it, but I think I kind of just catch those details, and I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah, I didn't make any note of how the recaps looked this time. But we're getting a view of what kind of cast of characters we're dealing with here in G14. So we got Tashigi, who's still a captain. Probably the highest ranked person we're going to see here is Vice Admiral Dahl, just like this tall goth lady with tattoos and a cigarette. And she's talking with Tashigi, and they're, just obviously feeling the weight of the world. As while in the other room, Commander Hibari and Lieutenant Commander Helmeppo are begging Rear Admiral Groose to go save Kobe, who has been captured by Blackbeard and taken to the pirate island Full Lead. And these are all like various members of Sword.
Aesthetic is all over the place with Sword.
All over the place.
It's
like
how when you're like a police officer, you got to wear a uniform, but then like if you're promoted to detective, then you could start wearing like suits and stuff.
Yes,
that's what Sword kind of feels like.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like if there were other examples of that. Like obviously like the generic Marine uniform kind of loosens up a bit the higher up the hierarchy you go, but like even the admirals are like they're just wearing like themed colored suits,
right? Like there are liberties, there always has been, but like Sword feels like a very young crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And then Drake is also there, I guess.
Yeah, you got they're talking about Drake, who they seem to have lost contact with. Helmeppo and Hibari, they're crying. They're begging to go save Kobe. They're begging Groose, and Helmeppo even mentions like, "Oh, hey, Egghead is not far from here, so like if we really wanted to, we could take some of the Seraphim." And Groose shoots that idea down. That's going way too hard. That's way out of our budget.
I noticed too that I mean it's probably obvious, but Prince is like I think just like a title for Groose, because I know when Hibari refers to him as Prince, it's in quotation marks. I noticed.
Yeah, I took it as a nickname, like he's. I guess it would be interesting if he was a prince of like a real place who decided to become a Marine. But I guess he has a princely reputation of some kind, or he's like he's got that kind of authority, even though it should be the actual vice admiral that they're begging orders for.
Well, I guess I don't know. Smoker's not around. Drake isn't around, and
right. Well, Dahl is around. Dahl is
Dahl's a vice admiral.
Dahl is ahead of Groose here on the totem pole.
She's too busy. She's having a smoke break or something.
Yeah. So Full Ledge is known as the Beehive. If you so much as poke it, pirates will swarm out and attack, and it's not a you can't plan a mission to save somebody from their consequence free. We come back. Jinbei has pulled the his part of the crew onto into like this kind of sewer where the sewer is meeting the outside area, and they're drying off. They're Bonnie's rinsing her shirt and putting it back on. She's pretty casual about the whole nudity thing. Not that anyone present is super interested.
Chopper's basically a child.
Chopper's got his hat. He's got his like Wano straw hat. He's like, he's like role playing like I'm invincible as long as I have my hat.
I mean, I don't think this is a major spoiler, but I think even like just looking at like the new like promotional image for the series on Crunchyroll and stuff, the hat is very short lived, but it's a really funny gimmick that I kind of had forgotten about until revisiting the story in the anime. It's so funny.
Yeah, it was fun talking to Steven about the SBS where they explained the Boogie Bonnie joke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Bonnie's like, "Why don't you remember my name? Like, we're literally rivals." But that's short-lived before she's talking about. She's asking Luffy, like, "Okay, so your current wanted poster, why are you white?" And then Jinbei's like, "Bonnie, you can't just ask someone why they're white."
Or point out when their hair is going white.
But
yeah,
and then Luffy says, "That's just how I look when I'm most free." And he's like, rolling the air through his body and doing a bunch of like cartoon poses and expressions.
Yeah, the manga I think is just like it's the big buff flex, but I really like this. The team here just taking liberties and just doing some cartoony, strange poses because you should take advantage of that. It was great.
And so now it's on to Bonnie to explain exactly where they even are. This is an island called Egghead. This is where Vegapunk's laboratory lies. The famous scientist, the man who's 500 years ahead of his time. And Luffy's like, Luffy recognizes the name. It's familiar enough to him that he's like, "Whoa, you know that name? You know who Vegapunk is?" And Bonnie's like, "Yeah, I got business with that guy." She seems very serious, so that we got some intrigue as to why we're crossing paths with Bonnie here of all places. And so we come back to the Sunny crew, and the big Gigantor is holding Sunny up in his hands, and the crew is just kind of like looking up in awe, like, "Oh, what's happening? Have we been saved?" Like, thank you, big robot man. But from like the cockpit of the robot emerges a girl in like a pink jumpsuit and purple leather jacket and a big helmet
and boots that
she's
make
talking,
funny noises.
Boots that make funny noises. And she's talking to herself. She's relenting, like, another failed experiment. Why can't I control the primal urges of living things? Which I'm guessing she's talking about the shark. Like, is the shark supposed to be a living thing? Is it emulating a living thing? Is it a cyborg shark? I'm not sure.
Well, I think she said something like, "Oh, like it is like Well, she does talk about how it's programmed to only just like kind of protect and not really to engage, like chase after and attack people."
But it has a mind of its own, nonetheless.
Yeah.
Yeah, she takes her helmet off, and I like the little what they call it, the ahoge hair boinks up. She's got like a crazy grin, and like everyone's talking about this episode, everyone's been focusing on Bonnie's like weirdly animated boobs, but everyone really the attention really should be on Miss Vegapunk's dump truck ass here.
We're all friends here, right? Yeah, I noticed that too, and I'm like, oh, she, that's a hell of an ass.
She takes off her helmet. She looks exactly like Koala. It's like, wow, I can't believe Koala's here. Big plot twist.
If Koala and Nami mated, I guess.
I don't think I've been on the podcast to officially declare I'm super into this character.
Oh yeah, I mean we've all known, but I don't know if the world knows. So this is your podium here. This is your
this is my podium. This is my podium. This is I want to marry Vegapunk.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean we got to get you guys hitched then. Get you to Vegas. I think this kind of tracks. I've been catching up with dub episodes. I've been really far behind, and I think I watched like over 10 yesterday while just cleaning around. And like, yeah, you're a bit of an old T guy too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I like the big crazy grin. Oh, and I like this is the voice of Aya Hirano, who's always been like one of my favorites. She's like the voice of like Haruhi Suzumiya. She's
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
she's new Dende in Dragon Ball stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Starting with Kai. She like kind of took a break from like anime stuff for a while, so it's like kind of a big deal when she comes back.
I do like her voice though. It feels unique. It's got a little bit more of I feel it has I think it has a little more grit to it or something. I can't think of a good adjective for it, but it's not like the typical, just bubbly kind of anime girl voice. It's definitely got it's got some tood.
Well, like her like range is usually like super fucking weird gremlin girls or like alien boys.
Well, she's perfect for this role.
So she's like, who said anything about rescuing you, pirates? I am only a genius scientist working for the government. I'm Dr. Vegapunk. Dun dun dun. To be continued.
What?
Expectations subverted. General thoughts on this episode, Steve?
I think it was a pretty standard affair. I don't think nothing. I think like the scenes with the sequences with like Luffy, Chopper, and Bonnie flying through the air. I think the animation's really great. I love seeing the Straw Hats do stuff on the Mary. But then kind of like the second half of the episode, like part of it is reused footage and stuff, and none of those sequences kind of really stuck with me. But then with Dr. Vegapunk here coming in at the end, though, felt really great. I really like some like the lighting choices and the facial acting drawn on Dr. Vegapunk here. That stood out to me too. So like like a fine episode.
I agree. You could feel where like they're dragging things out, like with basically running away from the shark and getting swept away in the water and whatnot, and I noticed when I was taking the notes that the new like Chopper and Robin like education segment after the ending credits.
Mm-hmm.
That's like their new like cheat around like trying to buy a little time, because like from the point where the ending credits start to the end is like a whole like 4 or 5 minutes of the episode.
I don't mind these. I
don't mind that at all. Like if this kind of take it or leave it kind of disposable for fun segment means that episodes can be a little more brisk.
And you could kind of like, you could stop watching, at this point, it's like, you don't have to sit through this. And I think it's a good time to do these because Wano was 208 episodes.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to kind of refresh everyone about some of these things. And you know what? It's a really good place for the anime to bring in some of the information from the SBS segments in the manga volumes, like Robin knowing what their birth dates and favorite food is. I think that's really good. I think that's great for anime-only watchers.
Yeah, I've been mostly tuning them out so far just because I was like, okay, they're just going to like recap characters and stuff that we've seen a million times. But if like there's stuff like that in there, might be interesting to at least like if they have like an interesting thing to say in a week, maybe we'll tag that in here.
And like, who knows? Like, maybe we might be done with like Barto's like special house stuff for a bit.
That'll be
no. Those will come back, but I at least like those won't be. Well, we're not gonna do recaps of really old episodes. We'll just do something more recent. But I don't mind these at all. They're fine, and I think they're inoffensive. Mm-hmm. And I'd rather see this episode like end on that satisfying note with the Vegapunk cliffhanger than kind of drag on.
Well, the alternative is that this episode would have been even more stretched out, I think.
Yes, so I'll take it.
I'll take it.
I think also because like Oda took a lot of breaks last year, and the anime is a lot closer to the current chapters than you'd think. So they have my blessing.
Yep. Anything else you'd like to say before we move on to the next segment, Steve?
No, that was a pretty beefy anime recap. That was an anime length size anime recap.
Was it?
I noticed. Yeah, just about.
Wow, I didn't expect that. All right, thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Sam.
Oh, were you gonna say something?
Nah.
Okay.
This has been the One Piece Podcast, episode 801 for the week of Monday, January 15th, 2024. I know, as I said, 2024 at the beginning. Mix up a little bit. But want to thank both Steven as well as Greg for coming on, doing another great SGS segment. Another really great in-depth look at all the things about the making of One Piece that you don't get to hear anywhere else. Really glad to have that segment here. And as well as Steven for finally covering volume 107, and Sam for covering the latest anime episode as well. But I think other than that, we don't have too much going on. It's the start of a new year. I think, and especially after all the big Jump Festa announcements, I think One Piece is just gonna cruise on by for a bit, let you enjoy the new opening and ending, and before we get back to the manga, which I'm really looking forward to. Hope that punch connects. But Steven, where could the good people find you?
They can find me on Blue Sky at the moment, and that is at stephenpaul.bsky.social. I will say I am doing a read through, a reread, my nth reread of the One Piece manga. Not that I'm posting a ton about it, but I've been doing a 3-chapter a day thing, and I did start on January 1st, so I can tell you that for the middle of the month here, I am already at Yosaku and Johnny. That's how fast East Blue moves, and I believe by the end of January, I will probably be done with Arlong. So
3 a day, huh?
Yep, 3 a day.
I almost kind of want to catch up with you because I got enough things going on. And it's hard for me to read new. I'm currently reading Delicious in Dungeon, the first volume, and I haven't had time to really go back and.
That's dense too.
Yeah,
there's a lot of a lot of
text.
Yeah.
I've always been like, because people one of the questions I always get is like, how many times have you read One Piece or watched it? And I'm like, it's not that simple. I haven't gone back from the beginning every time. I've kind of jumped in, like with the manga. It's like, say if I could, maybe like a latest volume comes out, maybe I'll read it. Often not, because I've already read it. With the anime, new dub episodes, I go back and watch the latest dub episodes. So I've never gone back from the beginning. But I think the what was that? 4.
The answer is 4.
Good on you, Sam. Good on you. Like, I think the closest thing I've done to a reread recently, and over the years, is doing those live readings with Sungwon, and Ed and Alex and Zach have been on those too at some point. I kind of use that as my chance, but those aren't as those don't occur as often as they as you think. So.
So anyways, if you do follow me on Blue Sky, I will every now and then I might just post a pic of a scene with something funny about it or something that strikes my interest. So any
interesting observations?
Today I posted a picture of the cover story where the giant bird spits out Buggy, and I made note of the sound effect of boops, which I found very funny. So yes, observations like that.
That's a Buggy oops, a boops. Boops. And Sam, where could the good people find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Lucky Chainsaw. They can find me on Blue Sky at lcsam.bluesky.social.
What else was it? Sorry, I was almost going to give Sam the floor here. I was like, playing any good games lately? Yeah, that's what I'm going to ask you. What are you playing lately, Sam?
I did finish Yakuza Like a Dragon recently.
What do we think?
It was good. It was like a solid 7 for Yakuza 7.
I was going to say.
All right.
And I'm chipping away at Shin Megami Tensei 4.
Cool. Yeah, I haven't put. I mean, I've only put 0 for Yakuza and Shin Megami Tensei. That's totally out of my league there. But we like to thank Alex for being on too. He couldn't join us for the closing segment. You could find him at Dude Exclamation on Twitter. I don't know if he uses Blue Sky, whatever, in those crazy URLs, but I think he's on there too. But I think Twitter.
If lots of people follow me on Blue Sky, I might use it.
If the same three or four people stop using it all the time, and I get to see some fresh faces on my feed, I think I might be inclined to check it more. Steven is not one of them, though. I will say.
We're talking about you, Sean. Chill out.
Oh God. Why you don't go naming names now. And for me, you just go to my website if you would like, steveyurko.com. Social media is at Steve Yurko. Check out 4Kids Flashback, the podcast we were hinting at the beginning of this episode that I co-host along with Tara Sands, going back and talking about everything 4Kids Entertainment, warts and all. And also check me out on the Let's Play channel, ProZD Plays Games, over on YouTube. And now let's go through the plugs for this whole thing. Let's see how well I do. I never memorized this. You could go to our website. That's onepiecepodcast.com. Follow us on social media like Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky. Just look up One Piece Podcast. They all got different URLs and stuff. You can find us there. And you could listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Where else are we? I don't know. I just know those two. YouTube. Oh, yeah, YouTube. That's right. Yeah. We're on YouTube as well. We've been posting episodes again on there. If you like the YouTube, you like having a little visual up there. It's nothing that spectacular, but we're on there as well.
You can still see the live stream from last week's episode, in case you want to see all the visual stuff that we were doing.
Especially when we talk about the latest opening, where it's like, oh, and that scene. Scene. So, that might work out in your favor. Also want to give a shout out to our Twitch channel, our Machi Media Twitch channel. I think it's just twitch.tv/One Piece Podcast. But we got a bunch of our crew there playing games weekly. That's where you can find Dan, Donnie, Joe, and others playing a bunch of games every week. Please go check them out if that sounds like something you want to watch. Some folks playing video games. And you can call us at our phone number. I don't think you do.
Nope.
I don't even know if Zach checks. What the hell is Skype? Nobody knows anymore. I don't know. Maji. That's the number.
Call anytime. Yeah.
Anytime. You won't, but I think it's fun to say. That's why we keep saying it. Mm-hmm. And that's my great closer. It's been rusty. I haven't done this in a while, but I think it's funnier. But thank you so much for joining me today, guys. Thank you all for listening. Come back next week for episode 802. We'll have a new manga chapter, a new anime episode, and the usual people will probably be back on this one. So
yeah.
So until then, my name is Steve, and go ahead, guys. Go ahead, Steven.
My name is Steven.
And Sam, what's your name?
It's... Oh, shit. You just said it. What was it?
Oh, God, now I forget, too. What's
my
your
name is
name?
There it is.
I don't usually get to say my name at the round-off.
Well, you know what? It's a special week, and you're a special boy.
I feel special.
And I hope you all feel special, too. Have a very special week, everybody.